Walsh preoccupied South Florida for 16 long days. Pictures of the smiling boy with a missing front tooth were everywhere, on posters offering a $100,000 reward for his safe return. 2 weeks of fruitless searching ended late Monday. 2 fishermen found the remains of Adam Walsh's skull in this canal near Vero Beach, more than 100 miles north of his Hollywood home. Positive identification was made through dental records. Adam's parents, John and Reve Walsh, returned home late last night. They had wished to meet with the press one last time.
I don't know who would do this to a 6-year-old child. I can't conceive of it. It's beyond the realm of reality.
But Adam evidently was too good for this world. He was much greater than this world. And he didn't deserve to live in this world. He's too good, and you know that only the good die young. Thank you.
Steve Bosque for ABC News, Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Good evening and welcome to Reexamined with Meghan Walsh. I am Meghan's co-host, Gino. That is Meghan Walsh right next to me on the screen there, folks. Meghan, what'd you think about that opening?
Well, I love our intro, but I mean, my eyes are kind of popping out of my head, to be honest, about the intro, or the clip we just showed. Sorry I look so white, guys, tonight. It's been a day. I'm matching the background
Just the
tonight.
just the lighting.
I've been running around ragged all day. Literally just ran in 5 seconds ago. So thank you everyone for joining tonight. Sorry we're getting started a little later. But yeah, again, the clip, I'm going to start out with I honor my mother and father, but we have to be really questioning a lot of things these days that we don't want to. And, I mean, Gino, as an outsider, you know that I always want a third, party, perspective. And, how did you feel about that? I'm being evasive. Sorry.
It felt very contrived to me. I've watched that clip several times, and I'm trying to be as objective as possible when I watch all these things. Any true crime thing, I always try to do that. And when I look at this and I look at all the footage of your mom and dad back in the first week to 2 weeks of Adam's disappearance, I don't know. It just does not seem authentic to me. And I'm not trying to, persuade anybody to believe something. That's just my own personal opinion. But I got to say, your mom, she says that strange comment, like the world wasn't good enough for him and only the good die young. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of speechless on that one. Like, I could never bring myself to say something like that. But again, sometimes when people are in, that state of sadness and grief and all that stuff, they do say weird things. So I'm not going to hold it against her and say, she's evil or something like that. It's a weird statement for me.
I agree, actually. And there's been other statements like, no one will ever, when I'm born, she says, no one, I believe my dad or her, one of them says that, no one will ever be able to replace Adam. I mean, no child's really to replace. And that's not even really the basis that people are thinking on, and just some very odd behaviors that when, who my parents are, like I do, it does raise questions, and it does raise red flags for me, especially never having looked back at that. I mean, Gino, how surprised were we to see? I know I was, and over these past months and years, whatever, to really see how many interviews and how many things are actually out there covering that time and the scenes of the crimes, and they've got many clips of inside of Sears while they're allegedly looking for Adam, and it again looks very contrived. And for me, again, I don't want to judge grief, but I have had 4 of my children kidnapped from me, or falsely imprisoned, whatever we want to say. And I've had to be stoic about this, so I absolutely get like the stoic approach and things, but there are nuances that do raise alarms for me. And again, we're observing things. These are pieces to a puzzle that we're all looking at. So again, this is just just we're looking at things, guys. We're keeping that in the back of our heads. We're going through the stuff, and that's really the point. Also tonight, we're not going to be going through a bunch of documents and everything tonight. We wanted to give everyone a little break and give some variety. So we're going to, talk about a little bit of this, a little bit of James Campbell in rhetoric from last week, not the exact documents, but, rhetoric, kind of have a rhetoric about James Campbell, and also brings in some information from the one of my personal heroes, Ted Gunderson, in which, again, we've talked about Kathy O'Brien and her testimonies before on this show. So we'll be bringing in some of the work that he did, and specifically directly commenting on the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And why I think that's important to bring in, and I discussed this with Gino, I really think that is important because I want to remind everyone, or those who are just joining, place this in the perspective of this is one of the reasons why we're doing this. One of the bigger picture reasons, if you will, when we're looking at the National Center, when we're looking at an issue of, domestic and international global child trafficking, and what the realities of that is, not just what we've heard in, on Twitter, or what, X now, excuse me, I keep saying it. On my phone, it still says Twitter if you want to share to Twitter.
Me too.
It still has the word. Okay. Anyways, so that's kind of the lineup in a very rough way I just delivered. Sorry, guys, but that's where we're going tonight. And yes, the beginning clip in this, I think that we'll also be looking at, and I think that when you look at any of these images or videos or records from that time, now 41, 42 years later, it does give a very different perspective, and it does make you question things. And that is, one of the big reasons why I started questioning things. So, that's why we're sharing that as well.
Well, I think that opening clip is a good segue to show this picture before we get started in some of this other stuff. And I saw this today, and I thought I saw every picture available, but I never saw this one. And I thought, how peculiar is this? And this is, again, my own observation. You've got this like photo op of John Walsh in the early days of Adam's disappearance. I believe this was in the first month of his disappearance. And somehow another photographer captures this picture from behind the camera to kind of give it look like this action shot, and almost like they're preparing him. Is he made for TV? Is John Walsh made for TV? This guy looks like a star, like a star is born on this day or something out of this like traumatic event. And he looks so stoic, like you said, like he's just kind of standing there like ready to take on the world. There's no way I'd be able to do that.
I mean, from a hotel executive, I understand that you have a certain presence and you have to be around people. So, okay, that's fair. But to really have this like hand on the hip, this presence here is very media, like out the gate. I guess that's the way I put it. I'm not as great at, verbalizing or articulating things. I'm a little rough on it. But, for me, this really, is, and a lot of it is very media-esque and very, poised, if you will. Well, and even my mother, days after I appears, and she's in a trench coat on a car with my
that's another great point. But I mean, even like the button-down shirt, he's got it kind of open with the chest showing, and just like, he's a young guy, he's a good-looking guy, right? I mean, it's like made for TV. Like they're just like eating it up, and you're like, okay, well. I always try to put myself in the position of another person in this circumstance. And I just can't imagine standing in front of a camera like that. I want to be hiding. I want to be in private with my family and discussing what's the next step. How do we get our son back? This is before he knew.
I look back. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
I look back even at like, say, the interviews that I did over the 2 years, right, of my children, these past 2 years, while I'm literally being terrorized, my children are being taken. And like, yeah, I was poised, or like I was stoic, but like I wasn't poised in a lot of that. I mean, for as much as I could be, and by my nature, yes, but like, no, like that wasn't very put together and poised, and to this same feeling, I guess, is what I mean to say. And that's comparing myself to having lost children, is why I make that comparison. Yeah, and you see us seeing things like, again, they're on Good Morning America, like a day or so, days after, within 2 weeks of Adam, disappearing, when we know today, I mean, how hard is it to get on mainstream media? All that kind of stuff plays in. But also what we should bring for next, show, or in the future shows, is where I will bring in the notion that we do know, through records, that, about his boss, John Monahan, which would be like a mentor to him, would be like a father figure to him, and became that to my father. And we have him involved in other cases prior to Adam, and even after, where he comes in and he's essentially like a cleanup guy. He comes in, he takes over, he puts his hands on his hips. It's John Monahan. And this, I think, is a big theme that people are really missing. Like, my father's father was military. Like, his whole family was military. His father was a bomber pilot, and like an awarded, soldier, and all of this, for landing one of the bomber planes when it had gotten bombed, saving the crew. So he was very militant. They were raised strict Roman Catholic. My dad was actually an altar boy, when Mass was still in Latin in upstate New York. So that makes me wonder if I think too long about it. But we have this, like, this background of my father, where then he's, sorry, I lost my train of thought. You're moving around. I was like, wait a second.
My phone,
I was like,
my
wait, I'm
phone,
talking, but I can't remember where I'm going with
my
this.
phone popped out of the holder.
Oh no, that's so funny.
I thought it broke. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's,
Sorry.
and my point here is that my father was raised by this very militant father. He loved his father, but he was very much opposite of my father, and very much opposite of who he portrays himself to be now. I have posted little Polaroid pictures and stuff of my parents at Woodstock, and like literally sleeping under cars, and taking pictures of the hearses that were there, and people passed out, and everything. And and having that difference is what my point here is, from his father and him. And he says that he, followed a more esoteric, if you will, basically new age approach. And he, had the long hair, and Jim Morrison, we read,
Hmm.
last week or the week before, his experimentation with drugs, which that was like being cute on the polygraph, sadly. So we have that, like, difference. And why I'm setting that up is because he didn't exactly approve of my father, and my father really wanted to prove himself to his father his whole life. His father died when his one of his youngest sibling was still younger, in his 20s. But it was like, my dad felt this responsibility, right, to take care of the family. And we read through that in the first, affidavits from him, where he's going on and on about feeling pressured to pay for the family, take care of everyone. That was a theme throughout my life. But for my point is that for him to come down and have this background of always, like, not being good enough for his father not approving, when he meets John Monahan down in Hollywood, he's a cabana boy by the pool of the Diplomat. Here's this executive. I know that they lived with John Monahan for periods of time. We hear how John Monahan paid for their honeymoon and all of that, which actually the story behind that is that John Monahan paid for a certain amount, and they ran out of money while they were in the south of France, and had to call my mom's
Well, that's a
father
little
to send
different.
them money. Yeah.
That's,
Yeah. So that's the real story behind
wow.
it. But it's not the made for TV or, records. So my point there is that, John Monahan became, and I feel that obviously he was groomed, in a different way towards the lifestyle. I'm not saying as a child or whatever, but, groomed to the lifestyle. John Monahan showed him, things, and really supported that lifestyle, which was obviously opposite of the military. This is cocaine and parties and hotels and celebrities and politicians and all of it. And so, to me, I think that it makes a lot of sense for that to be a dynamic. And I know that it was. And my dad very much admired John Monahan. John Monahan obviously did a lot for him. He gave him the lifestyle that he always wanted. And so then when we see him, kind of taking tactics from John Monahan. Like, we know John Monahan slandered his wife and drove her to crazy, and, said that she had tripped on her nightgown and fell down the stairs when he was standing at the top of them. The cleanup scenarios, and, just these things that we keep seeing. They're familiar when we look at John Monahan and we look deeper into my father's past, and then what inspired him, or what kind of molded him into, again, this hotel executive, which is very different from a grieving all-American working class father. So I will say that.
No, Monahan's a key figure in all of this. And then he identifies the head of Adam, which blows my mind. I still don't understand that one. I mean, we read about that last week in one of the documents. But anyway, all right, let's get into James Campbell again. We're going to just roughly touch on him. We touched on him last week quite a bit, read through a lot of his polygraphs. We're not going to go through all of that again. We're just going to, we're trying to show you that Campbell, who was the live-in lover of Reve Walsh, he lived there for how long, Megan?
Several
4
years leading up to it. Yeah.
And so he was in the house with the Walshes. John was out on business trips doing his thing. Reve's at home, and he's essentially sleeping with her. They're doing drugs or smoking marijuana, some cocaine. And it's important. What we're trying to do here is not slander the character of them. We're just telling you this was the lifestyle. This is what they were living. This is reality of it. And Adam's grown up in a house where cocaine's being used and marijuana's being smoked on a regular basis. And his mom is sleeping with a younger lover. Like, I mean, this is just the facts.
Who's doing the housework and taking care of the child like it's his, or in a cohabitation village raise a child scenario. I don't even know what to call it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. We're not here slandering anyone. It's that, and then especially when we see it 40 years later or whatever, when in allegations and my parents going around slandering, saying that, all these things about me that's actually them, when we have that proof. These are not, I kept reading the allegations against me or hearing what my parents were saying, and I'm like, I can't wait to find out who wrote this for them, who made all of this up, because this is literally them. This is not me. This is my mother. This is my parents' lifestyle.
So true.
And, and now, we look at pictures of Adam from different angles other than the baseball bat. We've heard from people who were living in the neighborhood at that time and knew him as a boy in the neighborhood. We've heard from people who were kids at the time whose mothers were friends with my mother, and they were in the house before and after Adam was taken. And congruently, and including their own testimony from the security guard that day, which we have in documents, saying that the child she saw and had leave the store, that's not saying Adam, she couldn't even, no one that day that was shown Adam's picture either could indefinitely say that that was the boy that they saw being kidnapped. Not one of them. And she even states how the boy that she had leave the store with, I forget the quote exactly, but something like appeared to be in a bad way. Basically, like there was something wrong with him. He wasn't taken care of. He was disheveled, that kind of a thing. And, I was raised by nannies my whole life. My brothers were, my mom tried, I guess I can say that, to be nice. But she was never, it was trying. You could tell it was a forced when it would happen. And again, grief and loss and everything, we're not commenting on that. But when my brothers and I grow up to have to start begging my parents to get divorced and saying to each other, why did they even have kids after Adam? That's a certain place. That's a certain, kind of thing there. So
something just occurred to me, Megan, and I might be wrong on this, but in your mom's polygraph, I don't recall the detectives ever asking her if her drug use came into play while she was shopping. Am I correct on that?
Right. That she was never asked that. I think from when we did the first show or last show, when we went through, we saw the minimal, comical questions that they were asked and then cleared. And yeah, no, none of that was brought up. It wasn't, it's not brought up in the mainstream thing. And that's what I was saying. Like, when I become an advocate and I start looking into these issues and then I start looking into all the other stuff, it's like, was Adam a CPS case? Like back, like legitimately back then, was he being, from what we hear, as I say, from the people that have come forward, many say, oh, they didn't give a crap about that boy until he disappeared. Or, we would go over there and there were people always in and out of the house, and that kind of a thing, on and on. But, that's what the reality of it is. And that's also why they dropped the Sears case, why my dad paid for James's attorney. Ironically, he also, we believe, paid for the attorney to participate to take my daughter with her biological father. So he's got a theme. These are patterns as well. So,
Yeah, the Walsh household seemed to have a turnstile instead of a front door. It seemed like quite a few people were coming and going in that home, and it was a lot of drug use.
Even for me growing up, I used to say it's like, and my friends would joke that it's like we live at a hotel. I mean, I was so disturbed that I couldn't just wake up and feel safe or walk out, on my balcony without worrying about a workman or, somebody. And here's John Walsh, when you're growing up, you're like, here's John Walsh, all about the safety, the cameras, the beeps and clicks and da-da-da. And like, why don't we actually do any of that in real life then? Like, why are we the ones who have the keys left in the car and, no alarm system, I mean, I hope he's gotten better, but, growing up, those were the kind of things that were like, what are we doing here? Is this like a public persona versus like what we're doing in the house, here?
Yeah.
And that seems to be true about when Adam was around. And that's what I was starting to say about the Sears case. When they ended up dropping that because of the fact that James Campbell came forward, disclosed my mother's drug use and my father's, the environment within the household and all of that. And that was really the only time that really came forward or was like paid attention to, right? We see it in his affidavits before for the police records. But then when the Sears thing happened, and you alluded to, what if she was on drugs when she's taking Adam and she can't account for her time? She's got it all messed up. She's saying it was 10 minutes when Sears is proving that it was really over 90 minutes. And then the judge decides, they filed a motion. I brought this up before, but they filed a motion to exclude his testimony, his statements. And the judge said, no, I will not exclude this because this is absolutely integral to the reasons of why this child went missing. Like, this is describing what the environment is, what this child's going, that was the only one that really called that out. And then they dropped the lawsuit conveniently. So.
Right. And I mean, why wouldn't you include that? That's all pertinent. Of course you'd include that. That's just
the police
ludicrous to not. Yeah, the police. That's the thing with the Hollywood Police Department. I mean, I know your dad railed on him afterwards, but was it fake? Was it this fake outrage against the Hollywood? I mean, I know that I'm just being facetious, but
well, no, because if you are charged, let's say hypothetically, if you are charged with predictive programming, promoting police state, fear mongering the public to get them to beg for more of that, then wouldn't that make sense to come out and dodge local police? Saying now look, they can't do anything to handle missing children. We need a national level. And now we see where that's gotten, and we're realizing, like, which we should have a long time ago, that no, we need a local level. That's how we actually are effective in these kinds of situations, right? So, I think that's an interesting thing to think about. Again, different perspectives. We have to put ourselves in the minds of people who aren't as honest and good as most of us here in America, I truly believe. So we have to, again, was it inside the criminal mind? So we kind of have to look at possible loopholes when we're questioning things, right? That's what we do.
Yeah. And just as a post-it note, I want to show this again. I mean, this is James Campbell, and he said, I was Adam's father, his brother, his uncle, and his best friend. And he was also his godfather. So at 19 years old. Now, I don't know anybody at 19 years old that is responsible enough to do anything, to be honest. I know I wasn't, that's for sure. I'm not saying, I'm sure there are some kids that are more mature than others, but this guy is acting as all these role models in Adam's life, and he's just the living, I don't know, pool boy, let's just call him, whatever, for lack of a better term. I don't understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's very understandable I mean, obviously it is what it is, right? We know these are the facts now, but I think that's what we're trying to kind of, vet out, if you will, is how did this happen? What was really going on? Why, I mean, all these different questions I could go on, but why, like you went over, why is a 19-year-old involved? Why is my dad meeting him at 12 and 13? Then he's becoming so close with my parents, and then godfather, and then he's sleeping with my mother before he moves into the house too. And then he continues, and then right before Adam disappears, there's this, we went through the affidavits, there's all this banter and emphasis on, oh, it was a mutual decision for me to move out. No, actually it was John, and Reve said it was him, and no, Reve, it was her idea, and we have him like moving out weeks before this happens. So there's questions there, like, would that make him more of a suspect because Adam was what kept my parents together? That's a big thing. That is, he also even, I think, mentions in what we read last week,
Yeah.
that Adam was the big part of like why they were together. Would that be something, would my mom, be wanting to get rid of Adam so she can go be with her younger lover? I mean, I'm just throwing out possibilities here, but we need to be asking those than just like, oh, these serial killers all came into a random Sears department store and took this boy off the side of the wall, and all this kind of stuff. I'm not okay with that. Like, that
No,
doesn't
me
satisfy
neither.
me. It's
No.
BS. Joe Matthews is BS.
Hmm.
We'll get to him later, and we'll cover him a lot. I think maybe one night I'll have to, one day I'll have to give him a call with everybody on and see if he'd like to, give any insight. No
Uh,
pun intended,
no
guys. No
pun
pun
intended.
intended.
No pun
Who
intended.
wants to give any insight into what's going on? I mean, that's what I'm here to do. I will call up and ask, what would you like to make comments? What's going on? I think that's what more people should be doing with things like the National Center for
Hmm.
Missing Children issues. Be calling and asking what's going on. They're paid with your taxpayer money. So, side tangent, but I think that that's important.
I just know the spoonful of the narrative that we've been fed over the last 40 plus years is a bunch of crap. Like, I don't believe one bit of it. There's way more to this story, and that's why we're doing this show, so that you guys can look at the evidence and make your own sound judgment and have an objective point of view. That's really the goal of this. So, all right, let's get to this TikTok. I think she does a great job with some of Jim Campbell.
In all the interviews, Meghan tells us to go look at the documents. So that's what I did. I started with what happened that morning. John Walsh left the residence at approximately 9 a.m. and sometime after that, between 9 and 9:30, James Campbell arrived. James and Reve were having an affair for the past 3 years. So that's a little side note. James states that they had breakfast and that he left around 10 a.m. Now, Reve states that she left the residence with Adam approximately 11 o'clock. Her destination was to pay for his tuition at the St. Mark's Lutheran Church, which is approximately a 3-minute drive. Now, according to Jackie Wing, the woman who took the tuition from Reve at the school, stated that she came in between 10 and 10:30, and that Adam was not with her that morning. Reve claims Adam didn't like to be left alone and she would never leave him alone in a car.
Oh, good job. In a 1 minute clip, I think she does a great job.
She's absolutely amazing. She's actually ex-military. She was one of the first women within the military to come out about abuse within the military, especially to women. She had a big case, and she did a very good job. She did a wonderful job. There were more. We'll have to. I think I have some of them saved actually, but we had to save them and pull it because her account on TikTok was taken down right after she released those. So yeah, and here she points out a couple things that I want to bring up. First being, obviously this woman, the secretary, is stating that when my mother came in to pay tuition, that Adam was not with her. And then my mother says at the time in 1983, as a response to that, she says, oh, I left him in the car and I just ran in to pay. while she's simultaneously saying that I would never leave Adam. He always has to be with people. We see this throughout, right? This theme of Adam needing people, wanting to be, close and, very timid boy and all of that. Also, a lot of similarities to fetal alcohol syndrome or some sort of spectrum needs or, behaviors, if you will, just putting that out there. But she talks about that throughout. My mother says that, and she says she left him in the car that day. Now, when we look at her statements later, years later, I believe it's like 83 or so, 84, she states that no, I was holding his hand. He walked in with me. So which is it? What is going
Exactly.
on here? I don't think that the secretary's lying for no reason and saying the boy wasn't with her, that kind of a thing. So that brings up, a big thing, as well as, again, going back to him always being needy, very timid.
Hmm.
James, we went into how he, talks about that a lot. But then here she is also leaving. So twice in the same day, if we believe Reve Walsh, then she's claiming that a boy that's 6 years old, that is very timid, James says they're just getting him to go down, to buy a drink at the baseball stand. And now she's leaving him in a car that day to go pay. And then she's leaving him at a toy section to watch a video game. So for me, regardless of what you think about it, whatever, that doesn't add up
Yeah.
logistically to me. So
And that's all within like an hour and a half. And then again, it makes me question the drug use. Maybe she is thinking she brought him in, but she was so high on something, she just didn't know.
and
I
it
mean,
wasn't, my
I would
parents were
love to know
known
that.
for this. My
Exactly.
dad was a known cocaine user. Like, people called and told me even like the brothers' names. I don't remember right now, so I don't want to misquote anything. But I was even called with like the brothers or family name that were the dealers, in the neighborhood and all this stuff. Which, again, ironically, I was accused falsely by my parents of having local drug dealers coming in and out of my house with a medical marijuana card and no other anything. So I don't know, but it seems to me that would be them talking about themselves again and projection if we actually look at facts.
Right. Well, let's go to this article. This is from the Florida Files. And this goes back to the James Campbell testimony. And this brings in Joe Matthews, actually. He was the one conducting these polygraphs. In the aftermath of finding... Actually, let me zoom in so you guys can see it better.
Sorry, guys, I'm drinking coffee off to the side because I'm so
tired.
I'm like, let me get some coffee.
Okay. In the aftermath of finding Adam's severed head in a canal near Florida's Turnpike 2 weeks after his disappearance on July 27th, 1981, police questioned suspects, even going back to some of the initial people they've already interviewed. One of them is James Campbell, the family friend who lived at the Walshes until a week before Adam's murder. There's that week before, Megan. He is being eyed by the lead detective on the case, Jack Hoffman. On his polygraph test on August 7th, Campbell admits to having a 4-year affair with Reve Walsh. So there's infidelity.
The timing gets longer, too. First, it's like, just 4 years, 3 years. No, it's actually 4 years.
That gives cops an easy out, the perfect solution, an ending that would play out like a TV movie. Miami Beach Police Detective Joe Matthews was hired by the Hollywood Police Department early in the investigation to do polygraphs, and he's called back to perform the second lie detector on Campbell. That's Joe right there.
Played out like a Hollywood TV
just
movie.
Like, yeah. And he did. We're going to go into what happened with Joe a little later on. He's got a lot of endeavors going on. Jimmy Campbell had nothing to do with anything. This is a quote from Joe Matthews. Jimmy Campbell had nothing to do with anything, and he was an honorable guy, and he had an alibi that was fail-safe, Matthews said. He rented these windsurfers, and they did a commercial, and they had him in a commercial going back and forth the day Adam Walsh went missing. And yet, they still kept him as a prime suspect. He's talking about the Hollywood Police Department here. And by keeping him as a prime suspect, even after I eliminated him as a suspect, and we made a big deal. Hoffman said, you polygraph him a second time to make sure you're right, and then if he is eliminated a second time, I'll drop it. I rescheduled it, and that was the day they found Adam's head. I totally eliminated him as a suspect. Yet they ignored all other leads just to focus on him. That was the reunion ruination, gosh, of the case.
You
Don't
can
see
do
that.
it.
You don't see that word every day. Matthew's summary statement from August 10th, 1981 says this: Mr. Campbell showed no psychological reactions, which would be indicative of being deceptive on any of the relevant questions asked. Therefore, it is the opinion of this examiner, based on Mr. Campbell's exam, that he responded truthfully. Police continue to follow up on other tips.
Okay, so we know also we have many people that came forward that they said we came forward then and went to the Hollywood police and we were actually turned away. In my father's book, Tears of Rage, he even quotes in taking it out of context that, so many people were calling and had all these, firsthand accounts and they were all crazy and off and everything. So what we do know is that it appeared to the people that were actually there and reporting with nothing to lose or gain from this, that they were being turned away if their information didn't go along with the media narrative that had already been put out. Let's put it that way, I guess. So we do know that. Joe Matthews, I'll remind people that haven't watched the other shows or know the history. Joe Matthews essentially came from the Miami Homicide Department. He was doing other stuff like teaching law enforcement departments and stuff like that was really his gig. But he was associated with the Miami Homicide Department. So they brought him to the Miami Homicide Department. So they brought him into Hollywood to do these polygraphs. Now, he was already working and specializing in things like nonverbal interrogation techniques, which then also includes like hypnosis that we see later. He's having ordered and having my mom and James Campbell and the security guard hypnotized with others, and then they changed their take of the day.
And he also had I think a 6 or 7 year old kid hypnotized. I was reading that today.
Right.
Yeah,
he did actually, one of the kids. So there's that. And after, my past and leaving New Age and, all that kind of stuff, once I started learning about, the real sides of hypnosis, you wouldn't know if that happened to you. You wouldn't know once you went under hypnosis what was said to you or programmed to you or anything like that. So, there's that. Okay. So anyways, then he's reverting and using and basing all of this on polygraph tests, which obviously are not permissible in court. I want to digress for a second. Why I brought up the Miami homicide is that at that time, right before that, this is also the time of cocaine cowboys, of, Iran-Contra, things like that. Later on we see, but we want to know like in the span of history, right? So when you have the cocaine cowboys down there, it was actually found out they were busted within the Miami Homicide Department that I believe it was 2 of the detectives were actually working with the mob because they wanted to be mob eventually. So they were infiltrated and very corrupt within that Miami Homicide Department already at the time. So Joe comes in, he's using polygraph. He's saying right here, we see him say, oh, they went with this, even though I had already cleared him. To me, this looks like somebody brought in to, again, be the cleanup guy to drive a narrative. He's stating here, there's no way it could be Campbell. How can he be so sure of that and so soon? And when we see him later come in to, push this huge Otis Toole narrative and make a lot of money off of it and close this case so no one looks at it or questions it anymore. I mean, that's a lot of incentive. I mean, that's a thing right there.
And last week we went over the polygraphs with your father and your mother, which only took, by the way, about a minute total for both of them, because he only asked your dad about 4 questions, your mom, I think 7 or 8. So that's odd. But then Campbell, there's 2, we read through 12 pages last week of Campbell's, which that's what it should have been for every suspect, right? Anybody involved closely with Adam. But for some reason, your mom and dad got special treatment. Now, was it empathy? Was he empathizing with the Walshes because their child was taken? I guess you could say that, but I don't think so. I think it looks very suspicious. Just like you said, I was very suspicious when I first started reading these documents. This guy's brought in from Miami, and yes, there were already problems in the Miami office there. They were having issues, like guys that are with the mafia. I mean, they're running drugs.
Yeah.
Like that's a real problem. Yeah. And this guy, And then Joe,
Especially when we know finders around as well.
Exactly, yeah. And we'll get into the finders here with Mr. Gunderson a little bit. But you know, it's interesting that this guy comes in and he becomes great friends with your father too. By the way, I mean to this day they're buddy, right? And he's written, I don't know, a couple books. He solved he found the killer of Adam. It was Otis Toole back in 2014. Yeah, I mean, he's just an amazing fella here, and also, I'll be darned. Let me see if I got. Yeah, here it is. He's also an entrepreneur, apparently. He made the entrepreneur page. Yeah, he made the in-home kit makes genetic IDs convenient and affordable. So, good for him. Making a few bucks.
And that was part of the whole get every kid's fingerprint, get the DNA, and now we're getting the facial recognition through school pictures now. So this was all part of it.
Hey, I'm all for capitalism, I guess.
Yeah, on our blood and our children. Yeah, I know.
Right.
It's great, isn't it? Moloch, no, I don't know what we're talking about. Okay. So moving right along. No, Joe, I've been highly critical of Joe, and Joe has even lied out of his teeth when he's been questioned about me. Right. He says I've never met her. We have the pictures from the press conference of us on the stage together for one example. Like, this guy's known me my entire, that's the biggest joke I've ever heard.
Such a great detective. He didn't even see you sitting there on the stage with your father and mother.
Didn't even see. He was so
Maybe he needed Maybe you needed that old time magnifying glass to see if you were there.
Yeah. Well, I want to challenge everyone to go, and you can find it online, like a Kindle preview and different things like that of the book. But I challenge everyone to go look at the foreword section of Joe Matthews' book that he wrote, Bringing Adam Home, and see what that's. I'm going to tell you what it says, but I want everyone to go look at it for themselves. And what it says is, in the beginning, it blatantly lays out in the foreword that this book is a work of fiction.
You can't make it up. You can't.
Literally cannot make it up. I mean, make it make sense. I think that's the point, for people that are like, what is going on here, really? The whole point is that that is the question. Like, what is going on here? We're trying to make sense of this that is not sensical, especially towards what if we're correlating what we've been told, we're trying to go with that narrative. We really want to believe that. It's very hard, actually, to do so. I personally think that's my opinion.
I remember when you sent that over, we were like, I think we were just texting or something. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this cannot be real. Sure enough, I looked it up and it was. It's right there. You're just like, this is so stupid. Like, I don't even know how do you go to your publisher and say, okay, now the foreword, we're going to have this in here. And this is supposed to be facts, right? Evidence and facts. And the police
on facts. But this is a fiction. The whole account is fiction.
So bizarre.
Though. And then he says that the only physical copy of, the record, his findings and all of his work to come to this, right? You'd think that this would be this guy's life work, right? You'd keep, definitely make sure you had all of that and everything you did. And then he says that, I erased everything on my computer because I thought that Willis Morgan, who's the gentleman that has provided us with justiceforadam.com and way more, he said, I was afraid that Willis Morgan was going to break into my home and take my computer. So I erased it all off of my computer. And, the only physical copy that I had of all this work that I did, I gave to my ghostwriter, my co-author, Lance Staniford, I think is his name. Staniford is his last name. I think it's Lance, Larry, something like that. And he took it to Cuba with him and he lost it. And so we don't know. It's in Cuba somewhere.
NASA lost the footage from the moon landing too. So it's possible.
Maybe they're in Cuba together. Maybe the video... Somebody's got the video and the records of proof of Otis Toole killing Adam.
Oh, we live in clown world. It's just so stupid. Oh, gosh. Okay. So did you want to, we can either go right into the Gunderson stuff, or do you want to read a little bit of the beginning of James' testimony, or his polygraph? We did read through it last week, but if you want to kind of just cover a little bit, just to give the folks at home that maybe didn't see this last time a feeling of who Reve Walsh is and James Campbell and their relationship. Would you like to do that?
Yeah, I think while we're still on it, we should do that for a second, and then we'll get to Ted.
Sure.
The
So we'll read
amazing
Ted's amazing. He's always been a hero of mine. And I always call him Gunderson. So I know earlier you said Ted, and I'm like, Ted, who's Ted? I'm like, oh, Gunderson. Yeah, that's right.
I was like,
It's
Gunderson, the 2 videos that you
that I posted.
Yeah,
I always called him Gun. So like, I just forgot about it. I love that guy.
No,
He's such an amazing.
And Nancy Schaefer, we have to really always pay homage to them. Those
Yep.
are my 2
Kathy O'Brien.
heroes.
Yep.
Kathy, I mean, is incredible, but Nancy
Yep.
Schaefer and Ted Gunderson are truly
Amazing.
people
Absolutely.
to admire and to look into if you're not aware of who they are, and to really emulate who they were.
Whistleblowers, and they risked their life and gave their life because of what they were doing. That's how you know it's genuine.
And articulate and
Oh, yeah.
genuine.
Brilliant.
I mean, Nancy Schaefer,
Brilliant.
we have a senator. We've got Ted Gunderson.
Right.
I mean, how could you get more inside information, you know? And this guy, like we talked about last week, Gino, you know, this guy had nothing to gain and everything to lose. And I just am so appreciative of their grace and their delivery and their courage, and, you know, just, I mean, I could go on and on, but please, everyone, if you're not familiar,
real heroes. Those are heroes that I have always acknowledged and look up to. And when we get into that a little bit later, I mean, if you don't know who Ted Gunderson is, I mean, he was the LA FBI lead investigator. The guy's just brilliant. And we got 3 videos we're gonna go through. But first, we'll touch on this James Campbell testimony, and then we'll get into that. I'm just going to read. I think we'll go through, I think it's 3 pages. But the reason we're doing this is so that you can see, this is actually from James Campbell's mouth, testifying his relationship with Reve Walsh, drug use, sex. It's all right here in the first couple pages. So it says, on August 10th, 1981, a follow-up of polygraph examination was conducted by Mr. James Campbell, which consisted of an extensive pre-test interview and the formulation of relevant questions that were asked on his polygraph examination that pertained specifically to the relevant issue which concerned the disappearance of Adam Walsh. The following are excerpts from that pre-test interview. When Mr. Campbell entered the room that was to be used to conduct the polygraph examination, he appeared to be nervous and somewhat upset. He said, "Joe, why are they treating me so rough? I know they think I'm responsible for Adam being missing. The police are making all kinds of accusations. I've got to calm down. Calm down. I've got to convince myself not to let the barbarians get to me. I should have just said to myself that they were just doing their job and not take it personally. But I do take it personally. It is very upsetting. After several minutes of conversation," this sounds like a script. Oh my gosh, it sounds like it's made for a movie.
literally.
After several minutes of conversation not relating to the specific issue, the undersigned was able to calm Mr. Campbell down and begin the interview. Remember, this is Joe Matthews conducting this. "James, let's start from the very beginning." "Okay, Joe, I could talk to you. I trust you." Why does he trust him? That's a good question, right? Why?
Yeah.
He doesn't know Joe from Adam. And no pun intended.
Not at all. And real quick, I want to say something before I forget. Before we move on past that, and people forget, we did just read Joe stating that he saw no signs of psychological anything that would, you know, indicate this. This is another point, because last show we went over the questioning of James, and the very beginning of the questioning starts with, you know, why are you so, in several different ones, variations of why are you so nervous, James? Then it even goes into, you know, my parents and John and Reve say that I should go talk to somebody. You know, I've got a lot on my shoulders. Then my dad stating James did everything he was supposed to do. I mean, I just want to remind people of what we went over last week. And again, paying for the attorney, getting everybody cleared in the first week by the guy brought in from the outside that then we later see, you know, closing the case fictionally and, you know, benefiting significantly from, you know, his association with the case.
Right.
And handling this, you know, narrative, making sure that this narrative stays what it is.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like keeping him on the tracks, right? "Okay, Joe, I could talk to you. I trust you. I can't remember per se when I met Reve. The first time I actually talked to her was at John Monahan's homes. While I was in high school, probably sometime around 1974. It was when John Walsh was working for GAC, and they were married. Had you met her before they were married? I heard a lot about her from John. I'm sure I met her on one of our trips, but I really can't remember. The actual time I really met her was during the summer I graduated from high school. Okay, so how old? Your mom was 4 years older than him? 3 or 4?
Well, what? He was...
So he graduated from high school. He said the first time he met was graduated from high school. So he's 18, let's say. She had to be, what, 22, probably?
Yeah, roughly.
Okay. I liked her from the very first. I didn't know if it was bells and stars in love, but it was just the fact that... Who says that? Bells and stars in... But it was...
There's a lot of... I mean, it must have been the jargon of the time that we're not...
I guess, maybe.
Throughout all of this, yeah.
It was just the fact that she was a nice person. She was pregnant at the time. Maybe 5 or 6 months pregnant. We had all drove to the River Ranch. It was John Monahan, myself, John, and Reve.
River Ranch. Remember River Ranch. Go ahead.
We drove in the station wagon, and that was the first big trip that we made together. I remember getting a ticket while driving for speeding. The place we went to was like a villa. John, Sr., and Mrs. Monahan were already there with some of the children. John and I, John Monahan, had our own room, and John and Reve had theirs. When was the first time you were attracted to Reve? She was beautiful when she was pregnant. She just glowed like an angel. I always thought she was a beautiful woman. When was the first time the two of you were alone? I guess at their house in Hallandale at lunchtime. She may have made me a sandwich or gave me a beer, and we talked about fixing up the bedroom for the baby. She was bugging John to do it, but he was always working. She had brown furniture, and we painted it white with yellow handles. Then we bought yellow shades with golden triangles and some decals for the mirrors. We fixed up the baby's room real nice. She told me John had constantly been putting her off concerning fixing up the room, so we did it together. We were friends. We were friends. Yes, something in there. We were friends. I would help her out, go to the store. We were very casual with each other. She did not have a car at the time, so I drove her. Did she ever confide in you before the baby was born? Not really. I don't recall. We were just friends. But I don't think she told me anything very personal. I remember before that time we met in Key West together. The Monahan family. John and me. That's interesting. I remember she and I sat on the seawall together and we smoked marijuana. How cute. Whose marijuana was it? It was hers. Wait, whose was it? Hers? Okay.
My mother used to tell me that if weed was legal, she would buy it with her, like lettuce, with her weekly groceries. That's a quote.
We only had a few joints. I remember we were smoking the last one, and I dropped it in the water. We were passing it back and forth. Did you ever snort cocaine with Reve? Yes, but I can't remember the last time. I think they had friends over from out of town. I can't remember the last time. Yeah. There was John, Reve, Karen, and myself. Who's Karen?
Karen's at core. So there's this core group of people. Nancy has since died, but this also includes Carmen Bracken. And I'm going to say something really off the cuff and really wrong, but this is my assumption. I'm not going to have stuff to back it up because I'm not going into this. But if a swinger's lifestyle was any part of this, these were the people. Karen, Carmen Bracken that we're going to see throughout. These were the older people that, like, quote unquote, took my parents under their wings, if you will, and groomed. And then we see a lot of, there's always this underlying sex thing, my dad being the sex addict, all that kind of stuff. So
were Jeff and Karen close with the Monahans?
Yes. And Jeff, I believe it's referring to Jeff O'Regan, who we brought up last time from Notre Dame, my dad's best friend. And that would be I believe that's the Jeff that they're referring to here.
Gotcha. Jeff's wife. Jeff is John's best friend, yeah. Did you ever have a relationship with Karen? No. Continue if you would. Now, when Reve and I talk about a relationship, she would say, our relationship. She would say, why did you wait so long? Wow. This is like a hot novel. When was the first time you and Reve were intimate with each other? It was one night when Adam was in bed. We were smoking a joint again. Then we drank some tea and watched TV. I was rubbing her back, nothing sexual, just her neck and shoulders. But after doing it a while, and because of the fact that we were alone and had just finished smoking a joint, my hands roamed and she turned all at the same time. It was just a mutual thing, nothing planned. It just happened, and we kissed. Where was John at the time? He was out of town on business. What happened then? One thing led to another, and we slept together. Actually, we didn't sleep together. We had sex.
Then I slept on the couch.
Then I slept on the couch. Oh, man. The next morning, she was very uneasy. She told me...
Are we making a movie after this? Like,
oh, my gosh. She told me we should never let it happen again. You have to understand the relationship we had. I would spend the nights there when John was out of town. Not for the sex part of it, but because I would watch out for her and Adam and do errands around the house. Then Reve and I became intimate. We knew we shouldn't do it, but it was very natural, nothing cheap about it. It was beautiful when it happened. We knew we were in love, but didn't know what we were going to do about it. For Adam's sake, she would stay with John. We discussed little things, like someday having a little car, a little house together when Adam got older. She wouldn't do anything until Adam reached a certain age. We talked about 2 years, maybe that's how long it would take to finish college. Nothing happened after Adam was born. She and John drifted apart.
Something happened.
Yeah.
Something happened. You said nothing. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, something. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Something.
Something did happen. Yeah. I never pried, but there wasn't that closeness. Reve felt it was coming from John, not her. She felt he was the cause of them not being close. Once when Reve and I were driving together, I made mention to her that one of my old girlfriends lived there and pointed to a house when we drove by. The next day, she said to me that she didn't want me fooling around with another girl. I told her I wasn't, and I wasn't going to. Do you have any other relationships with other girls, or have you had sex with any other girls since the first time you made love to Reve? I went out a couple of times, but there was never a relationship. I was faithful. No other girls, no other relationships, just her, just Reve, because I loved her. Did Reve see any other man while the two of you were together? No, she wasn't into the nightstands. She is too much of a mother, too serious. At the one time we were the most serious, I didn't have my shit together. It was a time when we felt it difficult to be apart from each other. We enjoyed each other's company. This was during the middle of our relationship. If I had everything together at that time when we would have had been together now. I didn't do my part.
I just want to interrupt real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to interrupt real quick because it says, that she wasn't in a one-night stand. She's too much of a mother, too serious, all this stuff. No, it was that she wasn't going to leave my father for someone who didn't have his shit together. Basically.
That's exactly what it is.
That my mother does. She wants to be taken care of. She's never had a job. She's never worked. She always just has staff and abuses. And here she is. I just have to say that. Sorry.
He threw in that part about she was too much of a mother. But was she too much of a mother so that she could just stay home and do what she wanted to do while he was out working? That's the question.
Still, though? Yeah.
Yeah. There was a time when we were super close. We didn't even argue. I guess because she was on a guilt trip, she started busting my balls for me not following up. We understood it. I had to make a move and do something. That was about 1 or 1.5 years ago. I tried to get the boats going, but because of the bad weather, they weren't successful. I wanted out of the house about a year ago. Reve was putting pressure on me lately. She told me that I had to have a life of my own and that our relationship was going nowhere. My goal at that time was to get an apartment of my own. I didn't want to go back to my parents. Whether or not Reve came with me wasn't important. I had to be on my own. I had to do it myself. I had to prove it to myself that I could do it. Reve told me we could have had a thing. We should have had a thing, and she was disappointed in me. She told me that.
Yeah.
How much do you love her now? I love her a lot. Okay, so I think that's probably the gist of. Well, maybe we can go a little bit further.
I would have had to have it together.
Let's go.
Or forget it. Yeah.
Yeah. How much do you love her now? I love her a lot. Did Reve tell you that she and John wanted to have another baby? No, not per se. John would say to Adam, "How would you like to have a baby sister?"
Gino, that was a big thing. Sorry, because and he'll go into it. But in the other one, my mother is very adamant about. She asks James, "Did you tell them that I wanted to have another baby with John?" Which would be a great additive to an alibi. But I'll just put that out there. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Excellent point, actually. No, not per se. John would say to Adam, "How would you like to have a baby sister?" At one time, I didn't think it was possible, but after the past year, it was very feasible. There is a big difference between John and I. I'm stagnant and John is just now taking off in the business. I would have had to have it all together or forget it. Adam came first for the both of us. I guess I kind of knew she wanted to have a baby. After I took the first polygraph, when I got home, we all discussed it. Reve and I talked about the test. When I got home, she asked me where I was for 7 hours. She asked me what it was all about, and I told her. It was at that time she said to me, "Didn't you tell him that John and I were talking about having another baby?" I told her, "No, I never told him that." When I got home that night, my sister was there with Reve, and they were awake waiting for me. Jeff was napping. They both asked me what happened. I told them that they asked me a lot of personal questions, and they told me to tell them exactly what was asked before I would answer any of the questions. I was waiting for my sister to leave. Reve and I walked my sister to the car, and then she left. After that, Reve asked me what questions were asked during the polygraph test. I told her they asked about our relationship. She asked me what I said, and I told her that we were in love. I told her that I told you that we made love together. Then she said, I knew that was going to come up. I assured Reve it was confidential. She said she was sure our stories were different versions concerning what happened between us. Reve asked me if I mentioned that she and John were going to have another kid, and I said to her, "Oh, really? I wasn't told." Then she said to me, "You heard us talking about it." Reve and I had a little argument about that, and I walked back into the house. She made some tea. We drank the tea and talked. When I got back into the house, she was looking in the refrigerator and broke down and was crying about Adam. I held her, and she took a sleeping pill and went to bed. Karen woke up because she couldn't sleep, and we all slept in the living room together.
Oh, oh, they all slept in the living room together.
Lots of juicy details right there.
Steph is taking a nap. I mean, I guess you could argue like they all were there because Adam went missing, but still, that was a usual like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was an average. Oh, I think you muted. Your microphone muted, Megan. There you go.
Doing that. Okay, sorry. What were you saying, Gino? Sorry.
Well, it's a regular occurrence at the Walsh household. So, I mean, and then a sleeping pill to go to sleep. Now, okay, under the duress and the things that are going on, yes, okay, I could see that. I'm not going to deny that. But we know she's a drug user. So was a sleeping pill a regular routine, or was it just, this is an uncommon situation and she needs one to go to sleep, to settle down? Mm-hmm. I don't know. We need to ask these questions. I wish Joe Matthews would ask these questions.
Yeah, I wish
that would have been helpful.
Would answer these questions or address it.
Okay, well, we touched
everyone.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, we wanted to kind of lay the groundwork there. Because that's gonna kind of go forward into where we're bringing this next week. So we just wanted to touch on that a little bit. But we definitely want to get into this Gunderson stuff. And this doesn't directly tie into what we talked about tonight, but kind of sorta, because what we've discovered in the couple of years, at least that I've been involved with this, and Megan a lot longer, obviously, is that the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children was discovered and founded by John and Reve because of Adam's disappearance, and this could just never happen to another American child again, and families across America, and something needed to be done because the police and the FBI were doing nothing about it. There was no databases, there was no coordination between departments, so they were going to start something that was going to fundamentally change finding missing children. Now, was it an epidemic before this? How many kids were going missing every year? I don't know. I don't know the statistics on that. But let's see, it was 1994 NCMEC was founded?
1984 it was founded.
What did I say, 94? Yeah, 84, sorry. Yeah. So 1984 it's founded, right? And everybody's on board with this. Of course they are, because the whole narrative to that point is like something has to be done. Yeah. Something's got to be done. We got to save children. And I mean, on the outside looking in, of course you're going to agree with that. I mean, the American public's going to be like, yes, something needs to be done. Why wasn't anything done decades ago? I mean, that's just, that would be the natural reaction.
You're not going to question it. And it's people who just lost their child, so you're not going to question it. And we've seen that transpire and how that's panned out with other organizations, as we've talked about prior, and especially with, good old OUR these days and all that. So we're seeing how that spins across.
Yeah, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children now has expanded. There's an International Center for Missing and Exploited Children. It's worldwide now. And so it's, you know, on the outside, it looks like a great thing. But what we're going to show you, and I think we're going to make it very apparent as time goes on with these shows, is that there might have been something a little more nefarious going on here from the outset of this. And why Adam's case was kind of held as this pillar for the American public to look at and say, wow, yeah, we really need to get on board with this. And I'm going to go out.
And why the National Center has become being formed in '84 before the Clinton Foundation, before the Coons Foundation, before the McCain Institute, before the Beau Biden Foundation, before the Polly Klaas Foundation, before any of these other foundations. The National Center was founded. And what we're seeing with especially organizations like Child Focus and different things like you brought up ICMEC, we're seeing that they've become essentially a prototype with Ernie Allen behind it, training and showing everyone the ropes.
Yeah, prototype's a good work. They laid the groundwork for everything else to come after it. And, and I think it's a well orchestrated plan as we go forward. And I think we can connect those dots later on.
And many of the organizations like Child Focus that they have, modeled themselves after the National Center with the help of Ernie Allen have been proven to be involved in child trafficking.
Sure.
So that too.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's
in the original prototype, right?
Right. But as we mentioned before, I mean, Ted Gunderson, just an amazing human being, whistleblower from the FBI, and very credible. I mean, I don't think anybody can question his credentials. They tried. They just tried. Like they always do with whistleblowers. They try to discredit them and say they're nuts and crazy and, on drugs. What was that?
I said he was murdered. So
he was murdered. Yes, he was. Him, Nancy. No.
Linda Collins.
Did they know? I wonder if Nancy and Gundy. I mean, I call him Gundy. Gundy. I had all these nicknames when I know, but I used to know him or something. I don't know.
Gundy, that's hilarious. It's just
I used to watch all his stuff, and I used to just have all these names that I just call. Anyway, okay, so I wonder if there was ever a relationship between. It's kind of funny if there was a relationship between him and Nancy ever, if they ever discussed this stuff.
It's funny because as much as I love them and we know about them, I've never actually,
That would have been an interesting conversation.
So yeah, it definitely would be. The same time frames. I'm sure they crossed paths before.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so let's play this first video, and I want you to listen very closely to who he's naming in this talk that he was doing.
And we're going to set up a real organization to look for the missing children. Now, you're going to tell me that the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children doesn't look for children? The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children is a joke. It's a part of the Department of Justice, being financed through the Department of Justice. They have a multi-million-dollar budget. They have a staff of, who knows, 20, 30 people. I've been in their office. They have found through the years, and I've known for them to be in existence at least 20 years, I think 95 or 96 children. You give me that money, and I'll tell you what, I'll find 95, 96 children in 1 month.
Woo woo!
You remember? Thank you, sir. You remember they used to put the kids' pictures on the milk cartons, and they took them off? I contend, I don't know, I can't tell you why, I contend too many kids were being located through those milk cartons. Your federal government doesn't want you to find these kids, because your federal government, particularly the finders, the CIA organization out of Washington, D.C., is the biggest motivating factor behind the missing children in this country today. Why? Yeah. Well, there's several reasons. Kids are used for body parts, sex slaves. They're used for the satanic ceremonies. And a 10, 11, 12-year-old blue-eyed, blonde-haired kid will sell on the auction block outside Las Vegas, outside Toronto, Canada, and a barn in Lincoln, Nebraska. These are the 3 locations I'm aware of, for $50,000. Paul Benassi, a young man who was willing to come forward on the Nebraska case, has attended these auctions. He attended 6 such auctions in Las Vegas, Nevada. The fewest number of children there were 6, the highest number were 36. The auctions took place near a landing strip. Foreigners came in with turbans on and took these kids, put them in the plane, put them in campers, who knows where they went from there. 100,000 children disappear. I have personally filed formal complaints to the great FBI about the finders being an organized international child kidnapping ring. They have yet to come out and interview me formally and get my documentation, which, as I pointed out to you, is a U.S. Customs report. Now, the great FBI, they can tell you how many bank robberies, how many kidnappings, quote, end of quote, their kidnapping figures, how many cars were stolen last year, and what have you. They claim in the kidnapping department 75 to 80 children a year. That's a joke. They can keep track of cars, they can keep track of bank robberies, aggravated assaults, but they don't keep track of how many kids disappear every year.
Oh.
And that's by design.
Oh my gosh. Megan, when I first met you, I remember within the first week, you were saying the exact same thing Gundy was saying. That's his new name.
And I hadn't even seen that clip actually until yesterday or whenever you posted it. I was literally, you guys, freaking out because this whole time I've been saying this stuff and I love Gundy and I've seen endless speeches of his and, you know, I had never seen that clip. I was
Me neither.
Really
and obviously we need to make a hat tip to our good friend Mike Pack, the Hollywood Reporter. Go follow him on Twitter. Mike's our good friend and he posted that a couple days ago and it's amazing. That was a great find. And when he posted it, I was like, oh man, there's more. I know there's more of him talking about this stuff. So I'm like, I got to go on YouTube and see if there's more stuff. And like, it was like the second video I pull up and he's talking about NCMEC again. I'm like, I'll be darned.
I know. I couldn't believe
amazing.
it. I was like, did it take us this long to find a treasure? You know, like, what are we
right
doing?
over the head. Yeah. But I mean, how many truth bombs did he have in that, 3.5 minute video there? It's just one after another.
And I want to say he quoted 100,000 then. And I think we all are well aware in the trafficking world that we're at over 800,000 children a year. Well quoted, well known. The issue, since efforts have been made on a national level and employed, has risen 500 to 600%. The issue has risen. So this is obviously not effective by even the science and statistics, like the logistics from it. I also wanted to make a point here. I wanted to lay something out that he brought up is the whole missing kids, right? So we're going off of missing kids, and finding them, the finders, missing kids, all this, right? But if you think about it now, if you put yourself in that mind of their inside the criminal mind perspective, now, if I were to want a child or take a child or, do something with a child, sell a child, whatever, what would be one of the easiest ways to like get away with it, basically? And even in the respect of like, actually on top of it getting like sympathy and like, I mean, if you're a psychopath that's in this mindset of doing these kinds of things to kids, like, of course that's going to be there too, right? So now you're getting the saviorism. If you report a child missing, like, you could have done anything with that child, honestly, let's be real, and you report it missing, and then you're the victim, which we know about psychopaths and narcissists and the people that, sociopaths and everything. And then you actually get the sympathy and the victim card and the all of it stemming from that. And what happens when children go missing? There's like a local or national like outcry at first. Maybe there's even like a search team, or there's these efforts in the beginning, a poster gets made, whatever, and then after a while it fades off. There's the next case, or there's something else in front of it, or taking precedent over it. And then how is that followed up? What happens if that child's never found? Nothing. Like, nothing really happens. And also, if you had a network and children were going missing, then what's the best thing that you can do if you find a child and you're into trafficking of any of these forms? Then that's perfect, isn't it? The child's already missing. You found them, which is not hard to do if you're local. and then you can do what you want. So I bring up those two different aspects because there's many different ways that people don't think about, saying, oh, my child's missing, and it's like the National Center for Missing and Exploited. Well, are they the ones exploiting and missing these children? Like, I can make a child go missing. Are we getting what my point is there? I know it's late and I've had a really long day, but
no, but that's a great point, because a lot of times this stuff's right in our face, right? It's right under our nose.
Well, it
And
is exploited. I mean,
it's
my
been
brother
said,
and I were the first exploited children by the center, essentially.
right, right. Yeah, I mean, symbolism will be their downfalls, as we say. And there's a lot of things in plain sight that are just right there for us to see, and we just kind of gloss over them because we assume these organizations are doing good, or we used to. I would say in the last 5 to 6 years, most people have started, not most, but a lot of people have woke up and said, wait a minute, something's not right. And this is a perfect example. And you're so right on everything you said, Megan. Like, if you were one of these sociopaths or one of these psychopaths, and you're like trying to think, and you're a pedo or something, and you're trying to get kids, what's a better way than saying you're saving kids? I mean, we're seeing that with OUR. You mentioned, Tim Ballard's organization a little while ago. Folks,
or, oh my God, my child went missing, when we know that 95% of any actual sexual abuse, murder, all of that is exactly from a family member or someone close to the family.
Exactly.
Because that would reveal a lot about our society and a lot about how these things are happening.
And in your own case, 4 of your own children were taken by your own father and mother. So that just proves the statistics right there on this show.
It's familial trafficking.
It is. It's sick. Yeah. It's very sick, and it needs to stop. And that's why we're doing these shows and other shows to bring awareness and bring an ultimate end to the evil that is trafficking, especially of our children.
And he brings up also Las Vegas, which is, again, we talk a lot about Las Vegas, and I've talked out about the Pimps and Police program and the dead judges and their daughters that were being prostituted out and that we're covering for the police. And I've talked about Ocean Fleming and the Fall Guys and, the whole network there. So when we hear, again, it being the state that is legal for, prostitution, so there's a lot of loopholes there. But what he's describing from this like missing kids thing, and then the auctions outside of Las Vegas, and then this network, and he says finding, children, the finders, there's a lot of these key words. And also a lot of it is talking about things that are nefarious, but are actually what things like Child Protective Services are from the get-go, at their fundamental baseline of what they are already and what they're doing. So it seems to be, to me, that, this was really this narrative and this stranger danger and all this stuff was put out. They make the National Center, they start making legislation. There was never a capability for lobbying or legislation, which is also huge money. And then we see them, working with other organizations to form. I mean, it just goes on and on. And as I've said many times before, it's very reminiscent of a wide scale version of what the Finders Call was doing and this network that they wanted to create. And I have to say one more thing to his blurb there, was that the biggest point out of it is, I've always said this, how effective are they? What are they actually doing? Is this just data collection at this point? Is this just control, fear mongering, predictive programming, police state?
All the above.
Yeah. And he makes the exact point that I started Protect American Families about, is that yes, Protect American Families is a national nonprofit now, and we're in the process, guys, like I said last week, so it's really exciting. But our point is about the local chapters, about local efforts. My Better Ways campaign is about local efforts that don't that want oversight, that want transparency, that want accountability, because they understand the serious and sacred nature of what we're dealing with here. So I just wanted to point that out. Also, to go back to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and the titles, and how it is out in our face. An example that I've been using lately is about that, Florida Human Trafficking Summit, that Moody and DeSantis and my
Mm-hmm.
father and the head of DCF, all involved in ignoring my case and taking my children, but all in one platform, out in plain sight, obviously conflict of interest,
That's
colluding
right.
together, scratching each other's backs while all this is going on with my children. Um, but we see that it was, I mean, big thing that bothered me is, why was it the Florida Human Trafficking Summit? Why wasn't it the Florida Anti-Human Trafficking Summit? Like, why is it the National Center for Missing and Exploited? Like, I get it, like, a little bit,
I
but
know, but
making too,
you
guys,
do
you
have to
know?
question that. You have to question it. You have to.
Yeah.
We're at that point.
Little nuances like that. It's, from the art world and
Mm-hmm.
from New Age background and Luciferian doctrine and everything. If you know about that, then
It's
it
reverse
does.
psychology. I mean, you could. It's something as simple as that. Megan, I got the hint from Gundy there in that last clip that he doesn't really highly respect the FBI that he worked for. I don't know. I just had this like weird feeling, like there was some sarcasm there from Gunn.
Well, I was gonna say, it's like, hey, when's he talking about that? And we're all realizing that now and discovering that.
96.
I haven't
That was
even
96.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
haven't even bothered to make a report to the FBI, because what is that going to do? If anything, it'll just bring more retaliation against me.
Mm-hmm.
We already know that my dad has been very vocal about the 8 FBI agents that are behind my children being taken and in contact with him regarding this situation. So we already know that the FBI is involved. As much as I don't
So,
like to say that, we know the national center's involved, because I'm vocal about, I'm literally what am I
mm-hmm.
doing? Like, why wouldn't they? I mean, I never thought that it would get to this point. I thought people would do the right thing. I thought I was doing the
Mm-hmm.
right thing. I thought these people would want to know if there were loopholes or, things going through the cracks. We would think that that would be the thing. And I humbly admit, now everyone's like, oh, of course, if you go against anybody, this stuff's going to happen to you and all this stuff. Well, I didn't know that. So
No. How would
um,
you have known? I mean,
I
there's
never would.
always, growing up in this country, you did have respect for law enforcement and the FBI, and you just thought, okay, yeah, they're doing good things. They're protecting us like they're supposed to. We didn't know they were bought and paid for. We didn't know who was really running these organizations. Now we do. We're awake. And you can't run to them. Just like, Megan would love to go to an FBI office near her home and say, hey, this is going on. And these guys, swarm in like, knights on a white horse, and they take care of the
Just
problem. But
sit
they
down
won't.
and look at it. Just
Just
sit
look
down
at
and
it. Just exactly.
do your job. Do your job. There's
Yeah.
a duty to investigate. And when you're well aware, I mean, the
Well,
same thing goes for
another,
the local sheriff in everybody's county. So
Megan, this is another perfect segue that you have laid out for me, and another sidebar. So I showed you these a little earlier, and has nothing to do with what we were just talking about. But we mentioned Ashley Moody, the what is she, the Attorney General of Florida, and DeSantis, and none of them do anything about this. Zero, absolutely zero. They've been contacted many times, called out on Twitter many times, nothing. And there's no way they don't know.
My dad just endorsed Ashley Moody for the next governor randomly. So there's that.
Yeah. So I was just looking through the records that we referenced before, the Justice for Adam website, and these were in there, and these were just a couple documents, random documents of a grand jury. Now I know you guys probably can't really see them that clear, but you can zoom in later on your phone if you want to see them. But it's really doing here is calling 2 different officers from, I think it was from the Miami office, Miami Police Department, and questioning them for some things that weren't on the up and up, okay, when they were doing the investigation. So this is a grand jury subpoena for 2 officers. Now, my question is, okay, this is back in, I think this was 96 when this subpoena was sent out. They went, they testified, they did what they were supposed to do. Why in the world? It's the same thing. Let's get this straight. Megan's kids were kidnapped. Adam was kidnapped. What's the difference? If the law works for everybody and it's equal justice, blind lady justice, then why in the world isn't somebody being subpoenaed right now in her local police department in Indian River County, in the sheriff's office, for the crimes that they've committed against her right now? Why is that not happening? Can somebody please answer that? Why isn't there subpoenas being sent right at this moment? I don't have the answer other than we don't have a justice system. That's what it is.
And what we do have is two-tier. I think we definitely need to, acknowledge that. I've never experienced this in my life to see how when you have money and power and influence, you really do, own the courts.
That's it. Drives me crazy. And I know it drives you crazy, Megan, especially someone that's grown up around it your whole life. I mean, this has been your entire life around law enforcement.
I supported it my whole life. I still support law enforcement. We obviously need law enforcement. I will never support corruption. People need to start being more articulate and with all due respect and, really realize that there's a gray area, and you can still support the need for law enforcement, but not be okay with the extreme corruption that currently goes on. And
in the chat, I see Sean over there, good friend Sean, your friend Sean. She has experienced quite a bit of betrayal by her local sheriff down there in Texas. So, this isn't just in Florida. Two great states.
Though, they love to go hand in hand. That's Walsh.
But these are... Wait a minute. Wait. Texas and Florida are red states, though, Megan. This couldn't happen in a red state, could
it? Half of the people taking
seems impossible.
Participating in this claim to be
Uniparty.
Republican. And not Republicans. And
Republicans.
We're also seeing that, we're seeing Florida as a huge rhino state right now. And if I can't deal with any more of these rhinos.
It's a clown show. It's a clown show. That's what we got going on right now.
My mom's a rhino. My mom is, and that's the biggest, this is off the subject, but it's still on it, but it's kind of off the cuff that, the irony of all this, when I'm being called out as a Trumper and domestic terrorist and all this by my father, when I've never even voted in my life, I don't tweet about Trump nonstop. I don't, I give credit where credit is due. And I've even criticized or questioned,
Trump. You have.
Because it is what it is. My issue is not political. Our issue here is not political. But my point is that it's really ironic because I used to literally get in trouble for not voting, and the fact that I didn't vote for, that I wouldn't vote for Trump, that I wouldn't just vote for Republicans, and that's all per Reve Walsh. So that's interesting. While my father sits on the side and was just always, very evasive about what, what party he aligned to. I think for a while he was registered independent, actually. But again, I brought it up on the other show that, his big claim to fame was that he did that because then he could be the only one in Congress that can go up to anybody in the hallways and pin them against the wall and tell them to do what's right to get the bill passed, whatever he wanted to get done that day.
Right. Mick Bray over there in the Rumble chat. I will definitely get to that question. That is something we've actually discussed before, and it's an interesting question, so we will get to that a little later. We're just going to finish up a couple of videos, then we'll go to Q&A. If you guys have, there's quite a few of you over there on Rumble, so if you guys want to drop some questions or comments in for Megan, go ahead and start doing that now.
Playing clips. Sorry, Gina.
Yeah, so...
I'm on the Rumble chat, too, right now. So.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play this second clip from our friend Gundy.
When we hear about thousands of missing children going missing in this country every year, where do they go?
First of all, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which is an adjunct of the U.S. Department of Justice, and if you go to their website, the last time I checked it, they said there are 91 Americans disappear every hour in this country. It is estimated 85-90% are children. If you project that figure, talking about several 100,000 children a year disappear in America. And these children are being kidnapped off the streets, and I have documentation that an organization known as the Finders out of Washington, D.C. has, since the early 1960s, been actively involved in kidnapping children off the street, okay? Now, unfortunately, as a result of some of my research, I learned through a U.S. Customs Treasury Department report that the Finders is a CIA covert operation.
So why do they want these kids? What do they do?
The kids are auctioned off. I talked to one of my sources, told me he's attended 6 auctions where kids were being auctioned off. He was part of the network. And there were as few as 6 and as many as 36 children that were auctioned off. They were each auctioned off for up to $50,000 each.
The children are ages 2 to 21, boys and girls. They put a label, a number around their neck, tie a string around their neck and put a card with a number on it. They bid, they put them up on a stage, they bid on the number. The kids come out, they put them in an airplane. There's one base a small field about 50 miles out of Las Vegas, Nevada, which is where some of the auctions are taking place. Put them on an airplane, kids leave, they disappear. Then the kids are all doped up, of course. They put them in campers. The kids are, once they're in the camper, they dope them up, they're sleeping. The police stop them, they say, my kid's asleep, leave them alone, and all that sort of thing. And they use these kids for sex slaves, they use them for body parts, and they use them for their sacrifices.
We live in a sick, sick world, Megan. Very sick. The Hollywood Reporter has joined us. What's up, Mike? You're muted, Megan. Yeah.
I did it. It's me.
There you go.
Are we
Yes, I don't think I've muted.
At the beginning of each episode, everyone in the chat needs to make a bet on who is going to
Absolutely.
do the episode.
It'll be me most of the time. I promise that.
I don't know.
No, Mike, I don't know if you were lurking out there earlier, bro, but we gave you a hat tip. Thank you so much for the Gunderson video that you put out on Twitter. Go follow Mike, the Hollywood Reporter, on Twitter. You'll love his threads. Amazing. That's how I got into this. It's all because of Mike. That's why I'm involved with Megan, with Danielle in the chat, with Sean, with Sylvia, like all our team here. We're all together because of Mike. So thank you, Mike.
Everyone say hi to Mike. We love you, Mike. Hollywood Reporter. And also we do a space. We started our first one last Tuesday, so we're doing a space.
That was really good too.
Night.
Oh my gosh, that was so good, Megan.
It was really awesome. We posted the recording, so if anyone missed it, you can go back and watch. It's on Mike's page, so great opportunity to go watch it and hit the like button. Also notifications, because he is constantly putting out like bombs for real. Although I will say that was the first comment I saw in the chat. I was like, any lawyers in the chat? Like, what kind of comment is that? Whoever wrote that? What's that supposed to mean? And of course,
leave it to Mike.
I'll call you after. I'm just kidding. We need lawyers, so he's not wrong.
We do. We need I'll tell you what. We need lawyers that actually will do their job and have a set of balls. That's what we need right now. We need intestinal. We need testicular fortitude from some lawyers out there. Someone that's actually going to take the money and then use the money for what they're supposed to. Because what we're finding right now, and you can watch Rescue the Fosters, we have plenty of parents that have given a lot of money to these guys and nothing gets done. They just run with the money. So
all sorts of it, isn't it? All over.
So if you're the other thing we need whistleblowers. If you're inside any of these organizations, NECMEC, you're in foster care, the adoption industry, churches.
I'm working on a potential NECMEC.
Okay, good. Sounds good.
Put that out. Let's pray. Everyone pray that the person has enough courage to go forward.
Absolutely.
Because they're an old figure in it. They're
excellent. Oh, that's good news. Good news. So, guys, again, quite a few over there. Go ahead, drop some comments and questions.
We're going to get to good old boys system.
Good old boys. Yep. That was Sean. Yeah.
I'm dealing with here. Yep. That's who was down there. And then we brought up that before, and again, we keep teasing. We don't mean to, but it just keeps coming up, and we're trying to get to it. But the whole, and I hate to be graphic, but the whole head situation. Let's just, state the obvious. It's not easy, but, the whole head situation, the placement, it being found in Vero, my family moving to Vero, in correlation to, this, in compared to this good old boy system, their patterns, their, as well as obviously the Masons. We talk about that a lot. And what's behind a lot of this is the Masons.
And how weird is that, Megan, that you guys moved to Vero Beach where the head was found? Like that would be the last place.
The head of
the head of that's exactly. We don't know. Yeah.
Because to me, I grew up, 2 of my dad's best friends, and I would play with their kids growing up, were known ex-drug traffickers, and we were told suddenly when I was in college that one of them disappeared, and his wife and his kids, they were. I think that the wife knew, obviously, but told the kids and all of us that he just went missing. Oh, how ironic when I say it, that he went missing, but really we found out like a decade later that he had been in federal prison the entire time. The other one got in some trouble and he now lives in Costa Rica and can't come back. And, I grew up with his daughter, but we would grow up in these houses with like, the main living room we're playing in. It's got all the heads and, stuffed animals everywhere, the hunt games and trips, elevators. And, I literally, then you don't think about it. And growing up, when you get to college and your 20s, 30s, I'll say, you're like, wait a second. Like, I was literally playing with like drug trafficking kids. Like, was I one of them too? Like,
Yeah.
we had a guy that lived on the back of the island that my parents currently live on. And I went to high school with his son. And, I mean, it was known. My dad, I would go home and be like, Dad, do you know that his father has a plane, like a water plane that he lands at the house, like right across the street behind the canal? And he's bringing in Coke, like, and it was like, oh yeah, everyone, same as the Cindy McCain Epstein comment when I asked him that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So bizarre. Yeah. This is the #1 crime stopper in America. And we don't talk about that. It makes sense.
But then, no, Megan, now you have to show up to this event and we need you to smile. And this is for this cause. And yeah, just do it because, you're so lucky to have all
Just
this.
tilt your head and smile.
Yeah.
It's sick. All right, let's get to the last Gundy video here, and then we'll go ahead and get your questions and comments. Please, there's lots of you out there. I would love to get some questions. Don't you love the interaction? That's what this show was really meant to be. We wanted it interactive, so we want everybody. We want your opinions. Like, even if you disagree with us, if you disagree on what we're discussing, let us know. That's okay.
I will preface that I would love. I said this in one of the other shows. I would love to be wrong about all of this. Like, I would
absolutely
really love to be wrong about all of it, about my gut, about what we're questioning. But, and I knew it would take a bit to warm up, but I am so happy to see everyone interacting. And, we'll definitely make some more time in the further shows. If you guys interact more, we'll make more time for that.
For sure.
Space. Thank you all very, very much for that.
So, Megan, this next clip is Gundy talking about the Reagan administration, which I found interesting because if you look down in the bottom left corner here, we have President Ronald Reagan holding little Meghan. You're probably 2 years old there, 3 years old, something like that.
That was
and then also, okay, and that's also her profile picture over there on X too. So, so I thought that was interesting when I found this clip. I was like, well, I'll be darned. Here comes the Reagan administration, and that's the picture Meghan has for her profile. So let's see what Gunn has to say.
Talk about the case that you had discovered where they were bringing kids into the White House.
You're talking about the Jeff Gannon case.
Well, no, I'm talking about they were shipping them in during the Reagan administration. I believe you called that the Franklin cover-up.
Okay. You're talking about the Franklin cover-up?
Yeah, talk about the Franklin cover-up.
Well, in my travels, quote, end quote, because of my work and the fact that I've gone public with it, as I told you a few moments ago and as we discussed, people come to me with a lot of information. So as a result, I've been involved in a number of very sensitive investigations. And the Franklin cover-up is one of those investigations. In the Franklin cover-up, there was a savings and loan in Omaha that was catering to the minorities. It was being operated by a fellow named Larry King, a black man, who was high up in the Republican Party, not Larry King Live, of course.
Right.
And he was they had like a $40 million shortage. The FBI and the IRS raided them because of the shortage. And there was publicity in the newspaper, and 80 children came forward as a result of this picture that appeared in the newspaper of Larry King and said, Mommy, that man molested me, okay? And as a result of that, that initiated the investigation. And I was called in the late 1980s to be actively involved in it, along with the former state senator John DeCamp, who's a very good friend of mine. And he has a book out called The Franklin Cover-Up, which goes into detail of this. And we found out that the children were many of the children were being taken out of foster homes, orphanages, and Boys Town at that time. I don't know if it's happened recently.
So they're getting these kids out of orphanages and foster homes, Boys Town, and what were they doing?
They were driving them from Omaha to Sioux City, Iowa, 184 miles away, placing them in private jets, flying to Washington, D.C. for sex orgies, and with politicians and congressmen, senators, in Washington, D.C. at Larry King's mansion.
Preach,
Okay.
Ted. Preach,
Yeah.
Gundy.
Now,
All right,
what about, wasn't it 2 years ago, Megan? I forgot his name. It just escaped me. He was in a wheelchair, politician, young guy. He was in there only for like 2 years, and they got him out because he started talking about the wild orgies that were going on in Washington, D.C. with children. Yeah.
I'm horrible with names, but I do remember that, actually.
I forgot his name. Somebody help us out in the chat, please.
Yeah, please, in the chat. And there's, I just scribbled down a bunch of things, so bear with me, guys, because they're all pretty prevalent. I do want to point out a bigger question that we'll get into down the line in all of this, but the fact of just keeping in perspective, another question when we're looking at all this is the National Center a nonprofit, or is it a government agency fronting as a nonprofit? And that bypasses a lot of legalities, a lot of oversight, a lot of accountability, all of that. So please just everyone keep that in mind, especially the fact that every day we talk about redefining who our modern child predators are. We know the statistics, within law enforcement, politics, social workers, foster, homes, all of that. He mentions outright foster homes
Sure
where
does.
they're being taken from.
Megan,
again,
real quick.
very correlating to the finders what their desire was. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to brush up on my vocabulary terms a little today. So when he said adjunct, I know what adjunct means, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to look it up. I haven't read the definition in a while. So I read it, and I'll be darned if it doesn't say it's a supplemental thing.
Yeah.
Isn't that odd? So why would NECMEC be supplemental if it's a nonprofit?
Because they're operating, and that's what we see. It's probably easier to answer within CPS because that's what we're seeing. These are not government entities that are handling case plans and handling this stuff. It's the state that is initially taking children, and then they are passing it off to contracted businesses or organizations. So that's who's really doing this. And then that's where we see the loopholes with, like, then they perjure themselves, but then the state says, oh, we can only go off of what we're told from these people, so it's not our fault. And then when the state's doing that, and the social workers and these organizations and businesses are doing this, then the judges say, oh, I can only go off of what I'm told in court. Okay, so we're seeing now the buck is passed, the loopholes, there's no accountability. They have done this very well. And it is all now taking these concepts and these agendas and initiatives and making them now on an in-your-face, in plain sight, with your freaking money, CPS. But we're protecting your children and families. I mean, families aren't even a part of this. I don't think that people really realize that the focus and the obsession with save the children, it's all about the children, it's da-da-da. Well, the whole root of children is their biological family, is their roots of origin. Okay, so that's
you can't have one without the other. It's ridiculous, that claim.
It's idiotic. It is idiotic. You are breaking children from the get-go if you are negating where they come from and who they come from. And we've already done that with God in a lot of this. So let's at least try to preserve biological mothers and fathers.
So real quick, over in the Foxhole chat, Chops, it's Madison Cawthorn, the guy that was in the wheelchair. Yes, it was him. Okay, thank you, Chops. And then see, I love the chat, and we have a great chat. Curious Patriot, my good friend over there, said he was bringing up Kathy O'Brien was during the Reagan years also. She had talked plenty about those.
She comes out about, we're looking at 1984, Reagan, declares the National Center for Missing Exploited Children. She talks about Senator Byrd, her handler and her purchaser, being put in charge and given an office in Congress and Capitol Hill to oversee the creation of the National Center to be the front for the deeper child trafficking within our country and wherever else it can get to. But originally that's what it was. And she's very, straightforward about that, as well as people. I bring it up a lot, and I just haven't had a second to go back and dig to find it again. I used to have all the screenshots and everything, but the Reagan adoption initiative, people are not really paying attention to. And that was really where, I know we love Reagan and all this stuff. Again, I'll be the jerk, but this adoption incentive and initiative that he started really was what positioned children as animals. Basically, like, we rehome animals through the Humane Society, and we take them from abused, neglected situations. We put them in custody. We adopt them out. You pay a fee. We put up their pictures as ads, and really, that's what we're doing with our children these days. But his initiative really put it in that context without people really realizing. And the whole messaging behind his initiative was, come get a child. If it doesn't work out, then, bring them back. It's most likely the child's fault, and you can pick out a new one, basically. So, and
along those lines, Gunderson brought up how they were tagging the kids, right? They had just a name tag on them. Well, yeah, technology is advanced. Now they're just doing it on the internet. They're still being tagged. It's just it's a better technology and more efficient.
And when you go, like, especially through private adoption agencies, that's really that's the most horrific arena that we're seeing. There are literally organizations, I forget, something Hearts in California and LA. There's big sites that literally have ads for children, but no one sees it like that because it's an option where we have to feed our own egos, right, and our own needs. So we don't look at that part of it. But I did want to comment on a couple other things before I lose my train of thought on what he had to say. The Franklin scandal was huge. This whole conspiracy theory thing and calling people conspiracy theorists and stuff. I really wish that we would be more diligent about that and more careful, because in a lot of these incidences, we're actually shaming and invalidating victims and survivors when we say that. I don't think, we want to be all PC and human rights and, all of this hypersensitive to everybody and everything. But there's people flagrantly going around, disgustingly declaring conspiracy theory on everything. And at this point, you look like the idiot. I'm just going to say that out loud, because you are denying children, you're denying victims and survivors. And in these situations, the majority is children that we're freaking talking about. Same thing when the National Center blames runaways for the 88 to 92% of trafficking that comes out of the foster care system. First of all, they wouldn't be running away if it was so wonderful. And how are you going to blame victims that are targeted on the streets and trafficked? That's because they ran away. Okay. And then we should that's just the issue, and we don't need to do anything else about it. So I went off a little bit on that, but the finders, I really want people to look into that. I think it's very important. He did bring up the CIA aspect. We know that from the declassified records from a couple years ago. I've gone over this before. The finders is a big thing that I talk about and bring in. There's many people that have done huge digs and a lot of exposures and a lot of information about that. And I really encourage everyone to go look into that stuff. Also, I wanted to say, he was talking about Washington, D.C. He's talking about the warehouse. He's talking, like you said, about the tags around their necks and this warehouse in Washington, D.C. Well, it's also interesting that, and we'll have to ask Darla. Gina, remind me, we'll have to ask Darla to pull those for us. But the records of Bill Collins, who was the other boss of John Walsh. So we're talking about John Walsh's bosses tonight, I guess, is that we didn't mean to. Is that the theme? So Bill Collins was another executive, or, above my father, through the Diplomat Hotel. And his ex-wife, actually came out months after the finders members were arrested in Jacksonville, and with the 6 kids. And she came out actually stating that, she had divorced Bill Collins because he was molesting her son, John, and that throughout the relationship, there have been several instances where, one, they were in the car together and he picked her up, and there was a photographic, art, they love to disguise it in art, right? Book of, younger nude males. And he kind of felt her out with that one, right? He used it to kind of feel her out and say, oh, I didn't know that was back there. And, oh, someone left it in the hotel, a guest. Isn't that horrible? And she wasn't, it was like, what the heck is this? But the real thing here also is that in a fight that they'd been having, an argument, I guess a box had gotten knocked off the dresser, and out of it fell Polaroids with naked children on bearskin rugs with, like, you know, wallpaper or background looking setting that they were in. And that's, it was correlated to the Finders cult. They looked into it about the Finders cult, or many people brought it up, I guess I should say. But the point here is that this was 1987, so my father is definitely lobbying for legislation. He's in the National Center doing all of this, and they went to him about this issue of his ex-boss, Bill Collins. And we have it on record. Again, Darla can pull it. It states that when John was asked, about Bill Collins and this situation, his reply was, "Don't worry about Bill Collins." So there's that.
No words.
And then lastly, I wanted to bring up Larry King. He brings up Larry King. So if you go on my Twitter, you can type in Larry King. I guess we did see tonight, because of some of the documents with James Campbell, I had taken the time and highlighted and gone through for everyone tonight. And I did post those about a week or two ago on X. And when we went to pull them tonight, they are nowhere to be found. So I apologize about that. But what I wanted to say is, if you go on my page and you put in Larry King, that's another big name to look into, especially if you want to know the origins or deeper aspects of this. Larry King was essentially an Epstein before Epstein. You need to look into little, North Fox Island. That has big correlations that then go into what we see with Epstein. But if you look into Larry King and North Fox Island, we could do a whole show or series on that whole thing. And that was already going on before Epstein, before any of this. It was going on, during Franklin and all those times. And he was pimping out and doing a lot of bad stuff, and a lot of it in the public eye that he got away with. So I highly encourage everyone to go look into Larry King. And again, River Ranch was brought up in some of the James Campbell testimony that we read tonight. And we know that ranches are a big place where child trafficking happens as well.
Let me ask you real quick, Megan, with Larry King, before we get off of that. So is there any correlation with him and Epstein at some point? I mean, did Larry King groom him to be what Epstein became? I mean, do we know that or no? I don't know much about Larry King.
To be honest, to answer that kind of a question, I would have to go back to my dig. It's been a couple months. I mean, I do these exposures, and it's in the moment. I'm getting the stuff, I keep it in a file, and then I expose it later or in the moment, as you know, sometimes. I don't want to answer that without remembering. Specifically, if anyone does know in the chat and can answer before me, please do. I don't have to know. I am far from knowing it all. But I did do I did a pretty good exposure on Larry King, and that he was the setup, basically, or a great example prior to Epstein of what was going on. Again, it's late. I haven't thought about it in months, but I'm more than happy to go back and break that down for people.
If anything, he was a prototype. I mean, he was just, the groundwork was already laid, and
he was doing it just as flagrantly, if not more. And it was a precursor. It's like we see the Finders. It's like we see Virginia Tan creating Children's Home Society, and that was where she made adoption, child trafficking into this adoption, guys. And ironically, now we see the ones involved in taking my children. What are they named? Children's Home Society is still in existence. They're involved in taking my children and many others, but this is Virginia Tan, and going back to those, that would also correlate to things like getting into Margaret Sanger and Dr. Kinsey and all of the bigger
just going to bring Sanger's name into it. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, this is an ideology. People think,
and isn't Sanger was the one that Hillary was that was her idol. So she was one of the greatest women of the 20th century.
Planned Parenthood. Yeah, Planned Parenthood, abortion, and it takes a village. It does not take a freaking village. That's also Finders cult. That's also Finders cult. They were raising their children in a community environment where the children were, quote unquote, weaned from the mothers. I was very much brought up that way.
Well,
And my
I've heard
children
it said
from their mother, ripped and weaned and erased.
most people would say that, you know, it takes a village would be like communism, right? Or socialism. I disagree. It's a cult. It's more cultish than it is some kind of, you know, structure for a society to operate in. Some kind of government structure.
It takes a village just led more way towards all the NGOs. It takes a village into Africa, you know, Oprah. You know, it takes a village into Malawi, Madonna. It takes a village, you know, to Haiti, Laura Silsby. You know, take it everywhere and you can get away with a lot of crap. And they're doing it here in America. Everyone repeats that programmed dialogue you've been given. It takes a village. No, it doesn't. It takes a community that supports and believes in nuclear biological families and supporting and making sure that everyone's thriving. That's the only communal aspect of this.
That's the only institution that builds a society as a family. It's God and family. That's it. It works every single time. If it's absent, it fails. It's a miserable failure.
We know that. We know that. And, you know, to see where our system is, and, you know, again, I always say, like, I was young during all these times when these things are being established and everything, but, you know, I can't imagine, you know, what our youth and my children, when they grow up and everything, if we don't do something about this, because to see how literally inverted the you know, approach is to this issue is really wild. I mean,
inverted. What a great word.
And put them in a home with strangers. But it's
because
of stranger danger. I mean,
that is such a great word, inverted. That's exactly what it is, inverted. It's look at the shiny object, and it's really the other side of the ball. It's sick. So I got a couple.
I'll even bring that up. Wait, real quick, Gino. I'm going to bring this up before we get into this because I don't want to forget. And I don't want to do it all at the end because I got enough at the end. But everyone, November 28th is Tuesday. You can go on X and find the links on my page or on their page directly. But Women Against Registry, I'm actually honored to be asked to lead their fundraiser coming up on Tuesday night. So everyone, if you are interested in you know, hearing about abolishing the sex offender registry, I know it sounds crazy, guys, doesn't it? But that might give you more incentive to also maybe show up and find out what we're talking about, because this is, again, about truly protecting children. This is about not taking the, you know, my buddy in legislations that, you know, the red meat terms and, you know, get the stuff that people just want to hear and is kitschy, but, you know, really to be looking at this, the majority, I mean, to me, I'll just give a little insight. To me, I always believed that the sex offender registry was like the pedophile registry. I just assumed that it was a registry for pedophiles, right? I didn't even think about like the actual term itself, sex offender registry. Okay, well, that means a lot more crimes or a lot more situations, I should say, than just pedophiles, right? And are we really even understanding, because we've just been given this societal narrative, you know, thing of just don't even entertain pedophiles. Not saying you should entertain pedophiles, but like, don't entertain pedophiles. This is what they are. They do not belong in society. And no one's debating that. This is actually why I'm loving this situation right now and this topic and what's going to happen on Tuesday night, because it's not about like normalizing or being okay with pedophilia or pedophilic disorder, actually, is what it is, if we want to get real about this. And we need to be understanding that more. We need to not just, you know, blatantly say they should all die. And it's not to say that we care either. It's that we need to understand, right? We need to understand what that is. But furthermore, you know, to have said that, is what we need to be looking at is this registry, how many pedophiles are actually on this registry? I mean, what's the percentage? And the fact that the registry, we can't even get those figures, and Women Against Registry have requested, and through great contacts and very serious nature, have tried to get those statistics, which are hidden, but yet they have how many black, how many white, you know, like all these other demographics broken down on it. And, you know, for a lot of it, it's, you know, we know the judicial system. We know that there can be huge faults in that. Again, I'm not making excuses, but the biggest thing here is that is the registry actually protecting children? Is it actually effective, right? This is what we're asking about the National Center. No one's saying like, oh, you should be for pedophiles. Oh, why are you against, saving kids and keeping them from exploitation? We're actually the ones who will stand up and are okay to be wrong. We're okay for you to get mad at us. And I mean, heck, Laura Loomer tweeted out this morning, retweeted, and we got a bunch
It's
of
over 1 million now.
people on there talking a bunch of crap about me. So luckily I grew up in media and I know the truth. So we've got that, and God's on my side. But
no, but Megan, you're bringing up a great point. Then give us the stats. Prove why you should exist. Why you should be doing what you're doing. Let's just see the statistics.
Right.
It's not hard.
And Women Against Registry, I highly encourage everyone to go check them out on X. I highly encourage everyone to follow them. And even if you think this is whack and crazy, just listen to what they have to say. And again, it's not normalizing or okaying any of it. And we're not actually even talking, the majority of it is not even dealing with pedophiles at this point. But yet, John Walsh and the National Center put it out as, this pedophile registry, essentially. I mean, again, I'll admit that's what I thought it was. So again, and that goes back to the NAMBLA narrative about how a hit's put out on my life before I'm even a year old. I mean, I was a girl. I was a baby. There was no reason why that would be true. Honestly. And my dad's fine saying it in front of the DOJ in a big old speech in 2019, and stuff like that. I mean, I was hid out on an island for a year or more, but I mean, we don't necessarily know. It never made sense to me why NAMBLA would put a hit out on my life before I was even a year old. But if we also look at, potentials of how Adam went missing, then maybe you would be paranoid about someone taking your new child.
That's a great point.
But you don't want the public to know who that might be.
That's
or
a really
what
good
you
point.
were affiliated with. And so you're in this position, so you make it a big pedophile group, and then you get credit for it.
Megan, I gotta say, tonight's show, it must be divinely being orchestrated, because you have had so many great things that have led into a segue. And you were talking about the registry, and I was like, there's one more video I want to play, and it's this one about the child sex abusers registry, going back with Oprah and your dad, when your dad was kind of
and I'm like, who says the kids like it if the abuser's good? Yeah.
This was back on America's Most Wanted, and apparently this is when Oprah went before Congress. I actually remember this. Oprah went before Congress, and then your dad, he was interviewing her and saying basically what a great job she was doing by coming out and saying she had been abused, and now she wanted to give something back. So let's go ahead and watch this, because I think it ties right in perfectly with what you were discussing.
Last year, there were more than 2.5 million cases of child abuse reported in this country, and that number rises every year. In order to prey on children, abusers have to get near children. That makes a lot of sense. And you know what? We make it really easy for them. Did you know that you can't rub down a sweaty horse at any racetrack in the U.S. without an FBI background check? But yet, you can be a convicted child molester or child murderer and get a job at a daycare center in 44 states. You can never imagine what it's like to be an abused child unless you've been there yourself. Last week, the country heard from a woman who's been there, Oprah Winfrey.
So today I'm here speaking out on behalf of children, the children who wish to be heard, but whose cries, whose wishes, whose hopes often, I believe, fall upon deaf or inattentive ears.
Last Tuesday, Oprah Winfrey testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee for a bill which would create a national registry of convicted child sex abusers.
There is nothing, absolutely nothing that angers me more than to hear of a child who's been abused, assaulted, or raped, or murdered by someone who had previous convictions for child abuse, was able to plea bargain, released, and came out to molest and murder somebody else's child.
That's what happened to 4-year-old Angelica Mina. Police say Michael Howarth raped and murdered Angelica in his Chicago apartment, just 10 feet from where Angelica lived with her mother. Howarth was on the streets after serving only 7 years of a 15-year sentence for 2 counts of kidnapping and child rape.
I wept for that child that I never knew, Angelica. I wept for her because I realized that her muffled cries never reached her mother, who was just on the other side of the apartment, as her 4-year-old was being strangled by a repeated, convicted child molester.
Oprah says Angelica's horrible death shocked her into action. The talk show host startled her audience 5 years ago by disclosing the abuse she suffered as a child. Now she says she's tired of just talking about the problem of child abuse.
For years, I'd done shows about it and talked about it and encouraged other people to do things about it, and I recognized I was one of those people who was, too, just paying lip service.
Oprah's legislation calls for a national computer registry of convicted sex offenders so daycare centers can run background checks on prospective employees. 6 states already have such a system.
Andy, get a hug. So they're saying that it's caregivers.
Florida set up its registry in 1985 after a daycare worker was convicted of 14 counts of sexual abuse. Now, all prospective daycare workers must agree to a background and fingerprint check.
Last year, we processed over 90,000 such applicant fingerprint cards for caregivers in the state of Florida, and we found on the average about a 10% figure of those who applied had some sort of criminal arrest in their background.
Those checks kept 9,000 convicted offenders out of daycare jobs, but few who applied were sex offenders, police say, because they know of the checks.
I believe that the message that the state of Florida is sending out to people who molest children or abuse children is that we have a system in place that's not going to allow them to enter into our buildings, that we have a way to screen them out, and by virtue of this particular screening process, they don't even get into the front door.
Since the death of my son Adam 10 years ago, I've been fighting for legislation to protect kids. Getting the FBI to list missing kids in its computer was a major victory. I was proud to join Oprah on her new initiative to protect our children from sex
Oh,
offenders.
Mitch McConnell's there.
We did a guy on America's Most Wanted by the name of Teddy Angelriner. He had been convicted of molestation in Colorado in 1975. Who did he work with? Kids. He was a volunteer, he was a Boy Scout assistant, he was a big brother.
After the hearings, I spoke with Oprah. Surprisingly, she told me she was nervous in her new role as a child advocate.
Well, interestingly enough, talking to millions of people every day, I never get nervous, but I was a little nervous at first.
A lot of people today talked about your courage as an abused person, as an abused child coming forward. I just wanted to say personally, it takes a lot of courage to take it farther than that, and you can be a very loud, strong voice for children. You proved it today.
I hope to be.
Exactly.
I was tired, you know, Dawn, of just talking about it, and I'm proud of myself that I did something.
Absolutely. Oprah says she can't get this bill passed alone, and I know how true that is. We usually ask you to pick up the phone if you've seen a fugitive. I know that's a rare event for most of you, but everyone can get involved in Oprah's fight to keep sex offenders away from our kids. So write to your senator and your congressman. Let them know how you feel, or call our hotline for information on how to do it.
I just want to show this picture again, just for, I don't know, I just felt it was necessary at this moment.
We're just looking back.
Just a reminder, just observing the past a little bit. I've got 3 words for our good friend Oprah. John of God.
John of
Remember
God.
him? Remember that guy? Yeah.
Yeah.
One of her good friends.
I know him well. I actually knew about him first, not because of Oprah, but in my exposures about 5 years ago, 5 to 6 years ago, if not more, of Marina Abramovich. But I do want to point out with Oprah, you know, repeating this and claiming her abuse and everything, who abused her, she never articulates. And also, when you are abused like that, aren't you statistically more likely to abuse, or, you know, there is that possibility. I don't want to put that on people, but because the opposite can happen as well. And I can speak firsthand from that. But I did want to point out a couple things, and this is going back to what we'll be talking about Tuesday night. And again, please, everyone go. You can register over there. It will be a closed event. It's like a fireside chat we're doing. They've brought in an amazing person to do Q&A, and it'll be a great night. So I wanted to point this out about, you know, this whole reoffending, and she kept saying this, reoffenders, and they're more likely and all this stuff because they've done this before. All of this stuff, including my father at the end there, this is all predictive programming. This is all getting you to be okay with these new control tactics, more data, more registries, more all this kind of stuff, and be okay with what they're saying, right? So what we have to look at, for example, is the fact that we know that 95% of sex crimes are by someone with no priors at all. 95%. Okay. So that leaves like what? The other 5% is what they're actually claiming is the biggest thing. We also saw them there doing what I said is, how is this marketed? This was marketed as for children, right? A pedophile registry to protect children. It wasn't just sex offenders of any type now have to register on this, you know? And also there were a couple other statistics. A big point of this is that 93% of child sex abuse is actually proven to be from a family member or a close friend. So this, by doing this, it is actually gatekeeping the real issue that affects most of our country in these situations, or what the origin and the truth and reality of these situations are. So you're saying, you know, putting this all out when we know 93% is from a family. Same thing with murder or missing or anything. We know it's most likely, and John Walsh himself quotes this, but then we're supposed to negate it when it comes to him, I guess. You know, rules for thee, not for me. And then the 95% of sex crimes are actually by someone with no prior record and no prior history of doing so. So this has really become like a public health issue. This has become, you know, how are the families of these people affected? The children of these people, how does that affect them? We're not, again, excusing issues. And the registry is very vocal about the fact, like I am with CPS, that if there are real issues of pedophilia or of neglect and abuse, granted, it needs help and reform, but we have a judicial system. I mean, those are crimes. That's not like, this is now, it's like, what are we, this is a civil thing we're talking about now. This is a civil action of a registry. These are, you know, we're the people saying you need to go register this. We're backed by government for it, but these are, you know, essentially that. And so is NCMEC, so is CPS. And, you know, that's just that, I guess, is my point there. But also, lastly, it's ironic because this whole thing is around daycare workers they keep bringing up. So they're even again pointing out, saying these are the pedophiles. You know, they're saying that the people that want to touch children or want to do these kinds of things, you know, are the ones that are going to put themselves closest to children. But then we don't want to believe that it's teachers and social workers and law enforcement and judges and politicians and NGOs and all these kinds of things. So again, they're not making sense to me.
Zero.
Please correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. Please
no, 0 cents. 0 cents.
But this leads into another thing that we're going to talk about briefly on Tuesday night. And I think it's a big thing that some people are aware of, but not a lot of people are aware of, which is pre-crime and shadow prisons. And this is a huge issue in America, where they, for example, with pedophilia, when someone has served their time, which again, we're not okaying it, but logistics and the law are the law, right? You are sentenced to a certain amount of time. And when you serve that time, you are let out, you know, you have probation, you have whatever you're going to do. But what's happening now is that when pedophiles serve their time, or people with pedophilic disorder serve their time, when they're about to get out, what they're doing is using the mental health system, DSM-5 and 4, which is killing people all over through CPS, through, you know, the prison system, through mental health industry, all of it. But they are using that to then say, well, this person, because of the testing or the responses or whatever, is, you know, we see that they might reoffend. So we need to hold them indefinitely. So now we're having these, you know, pre-crime, you know, things going on, and they're being held in shadow prisons. And so, you know, that's a big thing that people don't know. And maybe you hate pedophiles, but also that is setting a precedent that can be applied to other crimes that, again, with our corrupt judicial system, we know many people are falsely accused. We know many things are not, you know, delineated the way they should be, and different issues within that. So I did want to bring that up. I don't want to go on a tangent about it because we're going to talk about it Tuesday night, but you know, if you're interested in that, it's pre-crime, it's shadow prisons. Please look into that. You know, I always bring up Minority Report, you know, and all that, if people are old enough to remember that. But it's ironic. Tom Cruise is, you know, in that movie, his son actually goes missing too. He loses, or not missing, but he loses his son, and then he gets into this whole pre-crime stuff, which again is the precedent that he's setting for children to be taken across this country now through my case. Behind closed doors, he's literally pulling a Jussie Smollett behind closed doors, made up a whole fake scenario using his own family so that he could set precedent to quote unquote take children based on any potential future adverse event deemed. So
There's that
if
potential word again.
My case, I'm not screaming for just my kids, and I'm not just screaming because we need to end CPS. I'm not just screaming because from my perspective it's trafficking. That's not what this is anymore. You can't say that anymore. So to any of us. So we
Meghan, when I first met you, you were talking about the predictive programming and this potential word, and I would have never caught that. Honestly, that would have went right over my head. And when you first started talking about that, I didn't fully understand it. It took me a little while to see it in action, but it's everywhere. It's just so pervasive in our culture right now, where it's this predictive programming, and then it's like presenting fear porn to everybody. Here, take another spoon, take some more, your daily fear porn, and this potential danger is out there in everything. It's part of this massive propaganda arm of the government. And it's not, I mean, I think it's a world thing. It's not just here in America. This is like a World Economic Forum and all these other organizations.
And it also distracts from real solutions and real issues. Like we're seeing, 93% of these sex issues with children are not this stranger danger that the National Center and John Walsh put out. It's family issues. It's within the family, especially with this whole MAPS thing I've talked about in the past and how they're framing it that it's like family. And why is James Campbell meeting my dad at 12 and 13 and living in their house as a
weird.
house? I mean, it's all a very similar mindset.
Yeah. Sergeant Sparky, good friend over there in Foxville, said, I have questions about milk carton missing kids. So do we.
Well, catalogs came before. So
that's right.
The finders called the catalog is what they would refer to it as. And it's very eerie and disgusting to me that that's a phrase that my father said nonstop. He would get complimented about us, and he would say, yeah, it's like I ordered them right out of a catalog.
Man, really?
But not to get up the milk. Yeah, like literally that. Like, and I always thought that was really weird. Like even as a child, like what do you mean? Like you order he's trying to say they're so perfect,
Sure, I know what he means, but.
Yeah. But, to choose, it's like I ordered them out of a catalog, and, you're going into Sears department store to the toy section, which you had to pass the catalog desk, to get into. And, Sears and JCPenney and stuff do have evidence and, alleged situations of using the catalogs for trafficking. And again, we're talking about how things have advanced, right? So that would make sense for the time. And if milk cartons and they're being put out, instead of missing, try looking at them as ads, if you will, if that helps.
That's what it is. It's just what Gunderson was talking about with the tags. It's just another way to get more efficient at it. McRae in the chat.
Who do you you put the name of the child and you have to put the contact to get the child, right? Who would that contact be if they're on the National Center? I'm just wondering questions here.
So McRae had a couple of questions over there in Rumble, and one of them was earlier when we were talking about Sears. I had actually asked you this before. Now, the technology in 1981, they had surveillance cameras in 81. Now, whether that Sears store and the Hollywood Mall actually was equipped with them or not, that I don't know. Do you know anything about that, Meghan?
I don't. I have heard in passing that, about him on video, but I've never in the reality of the case or within my parents or anything. Well, that doesn't mean anything, but I haven't seen anything about evidence as far as videoing of him, being there.
Yeah, there's nothing in the documents that we've read, Justice for Adam, anything on there. There's nothing that says they've subpoenaed, any footage. There's no questioning by any detectives about the footage.
Saying that was Adam I mean, I'm going to be that bold. What
I
is
know.
actually saying that was Adam that day?
There's no proof.
What happened to Adam the night before and they got a little blur? Who know, I mean, there's so many possibilities. I'm not going to start, conjecture there, but who's to say, especially when everyone that's shown a photo of him that's there that day does not recognize him. So
right. There's no direct eyewitness account, I mean, that I can see in any of the evidence. Zero. Like, it's just people speculating, I think I saw a child, I think I saw this happen. There's no one saying, I definitely saw this 6-year-old boy with this ball cap on, whatever, and this is what he looked like, and he had a tooth missing. Like, there's nothing that's so specific that you could say, oh yeah, that has to be Adam. It's very vague. Very vague.
They tried, I will say it, just because we haven't gotten it to you yet, and oh boy, will we. But I have found later affidavits from other people that were interviewed by Joe Matthews that, how am I putting this? I didn't expect to bring this up, but that if there was a false flag, for our kitschy modern terms, that this stemmed from, or that this was, there are affidavits that would lay out how that would have happened. I'll just say that, the sale, the lamp, we keep saying, why does the lamp keep coming up? Why does the sale keep coming up? What does a sale create? It creates a lot of chaos and a lot more people at the mall that day, things like that. I was saying it because you were talking about the firsthand account, and this gentleman in it is talking about, like, oh, I saw someone that, took the hand of a boy, but the boy looked like he knew him. Then he says, oh, I saw the hat that he was wearing, but it's not exactly the hat that Adam was wearing that day. It's just, again,
it's all over the place. Yeah. And
he goes
the other question. Oh, sorry.
That day for something else, and there's no police there. There's no crowd. I'll refrain. We'll get into that one day. So.
The other question was, I'm a little bit behind on the show, catching up, but I would like to know Meghan and Gino's thoughts about Tim Ballard and his involvement in saving children. We touched on it just a bit, but Meghan, are you a Tim Ballard fan?
I try to be everyone's fan. I'm the biggest cheerleader, but when you ain't doing right, I will be the first one. Okay. Well, Tim Ballard, it's a very sensitive thing. We know that a lot of people in our circle, we've tried to keep quiet because we're here for the mission, not the drama, and not the online. Geez, people are gross online, dude. The swearing and the name calling. Anyways. Okay. So Tim Ballard, I mean, people can go put him in on my Twitter page and see, or X page, and see some of my other commentary on it, but and also the TikTok where I went down on my birthday to Turning Point and to go introduce myself to these people face to face, not to be at the event, but to introduce myself to where these people, to these people who would be there. Dan Bongino, Roger Stone, and then Tim Ballard as well, and others. So, and you can see Tim's reaction, and also how he's pushed forward and away from me by the woman who has recently come out at, saying I was his assistant. I was horribly, I can't remember her name right now. We had it the other day. Sorry, it's been a lot. But so Tim Ballard, okay, so I want to love it. I don't love it. Haven't loved it. Sound of Freedom, never gonna negate. That's the effed up part of all this and what they do. It's the example. You're never gonna say, you're the jerk if you come out against Sound of Freedom. Who's gonna go against that? But again, what it did was it distracted everyone from the domestic child trafficking issue, and every single person, figure, everyone is ignoring it. Everyone. I'm not saying so. People that have favorite politicians or potential future again presidents, all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying anything bad about the people. I'm talking about the fact that they aren't talking about this. Okay, so everything's about international child trafficking, the border. By the way, where's the national center for any of this? Okay, so which again, that'll be another, I think on Tuesday on our X Spaces, we're going to talk about that more in depth regarding the National Center, Mike and I. But anyways, I'm avoiding the question because it's late. It's been a long day. Sorry, Danielle, and thank you for asking. Over 800 children go missing from foster care each year. But yeah, so it distracted from that. And also I've had a real problem, and I've bit my tongue with grace and waited for everyone to start to realize, because literally OUR and Tim Ballard, again, is that exact example of NCMEC prototype. Tim Ballard is doing the John Walsh, precedent. John Walsh set this tone. We've watched, people emulate it with the tone of his voice, with the black leather jackets, whatever variation of this character that he is on TV, and, and just all the stuff behind it. I'm trying to be short, but Tim Ballard, it's unfortunate. But I hope that people start to look at what this type of person is, that it's not just him doing it, and also what type of organization, how it all happened, and again, that it's not just him. He's a copycat, it literally is the John Walsh playbook. So
it is
down to the like women and everything. I mean, my dad was doing that way worse than Tim Ballard. He had mistresses with whole apartments and cars and everything that later then had to go actually to women's clinics, my father, for protection and to get help with filing restraining orders. We have one example of that with Brendy Blackburn. You can look it up, Venice Women's Clinic. There's a Facebook article as well as online article, not making it up. And as well as my parents' 10-year divorce proceeding, where my mother had restraining orders filed. So I know that he seems so nice, but also like people have seen him America's Most Wanted and black leather jacket and this tough, we're talking about the worst crimes and all this kind of stuff. So why would that be weird to think that behind closed doors, maybe this guy has issues from trauma, from his upbringing and different things that he never healed. He got put in the spotlight, and maybe there is a side to him behind closed doors that people don't think about, especially with all those burdens, especially with the work that he did. I mean, I would think that would be very, not a surprise if people heard that. Also, the National Center and what my father does, you have to have an all-American look to your family. You have to have a maintained marriage. My parents haven't been married for years. I mean, they're living in the same house, not married.
It's
and
pseudo marriage is what it is.
Yeah, well, and that's another thing that people need to understand about celebrities, and especially like celebrity couples and stuff. My parents weren't like arranged through the agencies or anything like a lot of them are now, but and they tried to do with me, but my parents definitely became that, or kept that together. Again, they had a 10-year divorce proceeding, and then one day it was, Dad's moving back in, we're back together, everything's fine. You also can't testify against a spouse. I'm just going to bring up law fact. I don't know.
So, Megan, you were very gracious with Tim Ballard. I'm not going to be so gracious. He's a fraud. Okay, he's a fraud. And ex-CIA, there's the Mormon connections, the Masonry connect. There's all kinds of very dark secrets. You can read all about it. Go to, who does great threads in that? Mike, the Hollywood Reporter. You go to his Twitter threads, and he's got a whole bunch of stuff about Tim Ballard there that's very interesting.
He's the one that talks when I can't. But I agree.
Tim,
I agree.
We said the minute that movie Sound of Freedom came out, we were all just like, oh boy, here we go. But here's the thing. I said right from the get-go, you know what? We'll ride the wave. Let's just ride the wave. I knew from the day it came out that it would be exposed. I just knew it. The way God works, he lets these people come out in the light. They're arrogant, they're pompous, they think they got the world by the balls, and what happens? They just start showing their true colors. And the truth starts coming out. And that's how it always is. And they start backstabbing their own and talking about each other. And that's what's going on. And you're going to see Tim Ballard. It's too bad. It's too bad, because our probably could have been a good organization that was actually doing good things, but they don't. But they don't. And that's sad, and I'm sorry to say that, but that's what it is. It's the truth. He's a fraud.
Look, I for a lot of this, and I'm still doing it to this day, I bit my tongue on a lot of it just so that people can call me crazy, whatever, but I will put it in a more spiritual context. I literally feel like I've been put in the enemy's camp my entire life. God has definitely protected me. And, I don't think people understand, like, even the breakdown of Tim's, behaviors and his ways and everything and the situations and how the jumps that they did and how those all went down. I mean, it's very accurate. It's very accurate if you're behind the scenes, and people don't understand the difference between like behind the scenes and not too. So
There's TV, and then there's the reality. And everybody wants to think that and if you're on a screen, and even like on a stupid screen like this, on a little podcast, like, don't trust us. Do your own digs, do your own research. That's what we're here for. We're trying to provoke you to do some digging and find out. Are we just spitting, information out that's not true? I don't think we are. I think we're going by the actual evidence. And Tim Ballard, we have plenty of information on Tim Ballard that he's a fraud. And I got to tell you, as soon as I knew there was a CIA connection, that was one of my first clues. I'm like, not that all CIA's bad.
But also we see, well, it is. And so we see, I'll be the bold one now. I guess we take turns. I mean, it is. Like, and when you prove that you're not, then I'll say you're not. That's fine. But, I mean, it is. And
we've had a few whistleblowers come out that were good, so we'll go with that.
That's what I was going to point out, is that we do see the CIA creep in. It's what what do they call it? The common denominator that isn't obvious, but always somehow seems to be behind the scenes on all this. Let's see. There's a hero complex in this country. Yes. I mean, like, serious.
I was muted. Sorry, I was muted. I was going to say Danielle and McBray were having a conversation about whether Adam even existed or died or whatever. We've had this conversation many times. I believe Adam existed.
Yeah,
he was actually
a child. Hang on, did I miss it? I'm not there yet.
This is in the...
We haven't even done Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito were on.
That was a good one too. Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh my God, she's so gross. She's trying to bring in Gabby Petito's father. He's so amazing. Okay, well, he moved to Vero Beach like literally months right before Gabby went missing. The same, out of the entire country, you moved to the same small, tiny town.
What a coincidence.
Then your daughter goes missing, and then then who's there for you? John Walsh, and then and then you make a nonprofit or a foundation in your child's name, and then you've got a new mission, and you need to collect more data, and you need to promote Big Brother more because it's all for this, right? And because of that, so he definitely moved here right before, which is very weird. We do know different things. I mean, that's a whole different show. And again, I tread lightly because I got enough heat on me. So I guess I'll just say it that way. But, the Brian Laundrie thing is very weird. Again, a lot of similarity. There was a big search in the woods and stuff for Brian Laundrie. Only his head was found. It was in rising and falling water, just like the canal with Adam. It boiled down to, the coroner and whether they were honest or not, or whether they were doing their job or not. And they also identified Brian off of his dental records too. So it was very interesting to see that. Pasco County, where it is, has an interesting background. The Laundries and Petitos themselves have an interesting background. As well as looking into the Laundries. Their career was selling juicing machines, which Indian River County has some of the largest citrus, Hale, and other big conglomerates, green packing. All of that is here. And so what the juicing company that they sell is the juicers are made by FMC, which is Food, Chemicals, and Machinery. So they also make chemicals, and they don't only make juicing machines, but they also make pill presses. So when we're talking about human drug trafficking, goes hand in hand, and where they were selling these, as well as people can go It's controversial, but people can go look at Callie Burgandy or Claire Walker's information about juicing and human remains and how that was done through citrus or oranges, which we know for those that, follow Trump, he brings up the orange stuff a lot for a reason. He's not just orange, he brings up the oranges.
Meghan, what did your dad say about the case? Remember, that was he came out pretty strong and bold. Right
he said, it was very ironic because it was when he was taking my children and doing all of this. So he has the capacity to pretend like nothing's happening and go online and demand that, or, suggest, which people were not happy with. I was very glad that they weren't. But basically telling Brian Laundrie that the best thing he could do is kill himself. And he was calling them the dirty laundries. And I just thought that was really interesting because he was calling them the dirty laundries while he was hiding his own dirty laundry, like literally at the same time. And then he's accusing the laundries of covering crimes of like their son, which I have to stop after that. But that's pretty hypocritical too. We'll just put it that way. I watched my dad, get a lot of people, do favors a lot behind the scenes, but not for his daughter. Just kidding. Okay, I digress, guys. I'm getting slap happy. Okay, let's see. There were some other ones that you were bringing up. Yeah, about Adam.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to. I just didn't want to miss it.
No, that was good. So was Adam a real person? Did it really happen? Is this a false flag? Is it, all these different things? We've went through all these scenarios. I know you and I and even our group, we've discussed this at length. And I got to say, I'm indecisive on a couple things. I'm still wondering if Adam Walsh is John Walsh's son. That's one of my biggest questions. That's my biggest one. Whether it's Campbell's kid, somebody else's kid, I don't know. I'm just that's one question I just really want to know. I do want to know what really happened that day, because there's no security cameras. I'm glad you brought that up, McBray, earlier about the security cameras. There's no footage of this. So we're just going by a narrative that has been told a million times. It's hearsay. Hearsay would never hold up in the court of law, right? In a real court.
It would never. And that's actually something I'm going to say, which I've been trying to get to, but we've had a lot on our plate, is doing a comparative report actually between the Finders cult, Adam's case, my case, and CPS, because the correlations, the exact patterns, the everything are really, really wild. And I would actually, Sylvia and you and I have talked about this so much. It's like, they kept me in trauma and drama for a reason, right? And they thought I would break afterwards, so they wouldn't have had to keep it going too long. And I just lost my train of thought.
Well, the connections between CPS, how it all just kind of correlates with each other.
So yes, thank you very much, Gino. Because when I have the time, or I kept saying again, not only who wrote these, but then I started doing this. I'm like, wait a second, again, that's my parents, that's it. So I've said many times in a half sarcastic, manner that we really need to look at my case to find out the truth of what happened to Adam. So, I just think that's a fun side note, but if anyone wants to.
And I just want to add this in case the audience hasn't thought about this, and they probably have, but how ironic or how weird is it that you had your firstborn taken from you, and it becomes this national case and a national outcry, and it starts all these wonderful organizations, Crime Stoppers, new laws and legislation, and yet the pain of a child being taken from you. We've seen the videos. I mean, they look so distraught. Sorry, that was a little sarcastic. I pulled a Gundy there. Sorry.
So distraught.
Sorry, so distraught. But yet you can go ahead and do that to your own daughter and take 4 of her children. And that's okay. That's okay. Not a worry. Just go about your business, live your everyday life. That's really weird.
Claims are still holding up, the claims are still clearly holding. Sorry, that was my sarcasm. Sorry. Okay. No, I think it's really real, Gino. a lot of this, I mean, people could say, oh, evasive or anything like that, but sometimes we don't have the answers. And for a lot of this, we don't. And that's why we're talking about it. That's why we want to all talk about it so that we can, as much as we can figure it out. But to, again, see that correlation of all this being essentially based on hearsay, and then to see the correlations with how they got away with, the
right.
Conspiring to kidnap and actually executing the kidnapping of my children.
So
and you have to understand the finders cult, that's where they all went into, was law enforcement, social, teacher,
yeah.
They are in the finders cult, did not end. They blended into society.
That's exactly what happened.
Very much operating.
Yeah, they're your they're in every occupation. They're everywhere.
The things are being promoted to us, how to raise your children now, all that kind of stuff is origins. Many of them are, related to.
This is a good question from McBray. Also, was there ever a grave site?
There's a like a marker on the ground. So that's another weird thing where my dad always like refers to Adam as that boy. We brought that up before, and there's a couple interviews where my dad's like just going off about, we have to get those remains. We have to get those remains. It's like, wouldn't you be saying like, I need my child's
my
remains?
son, yeah.
Yeah, my son. So he's like, I had to get those remains. So they kept his head on ice for like 20 some odd years, some weird, bizarre story. And then my dad demanded it. That was why it was also a big deal for Otis Toole to be declared and close the case, because then they could cremate Adam's head, allegedly. But there's no like urn. I've never seen like an urn of ashes or anything. Where's that? So we have a marker. There's a marker in Auburn, New York, where my dad's from. I don't know why it's not down here.
So much weirdness. I'm sorry. I just it's so weird because I know the story pretty well now. I mean, I've read through the stuff but like there's always some new nuance that I'm like, okay, yeah, wow, I didn't think of that, or I didn't know that. That's like I never even thought about a burial site, just because I assumed, okay, well, they took the head and they turned it into ashes or something. But yeah, I didn't know it was on ice for that long. The DNA, I can't wait till we get in the actual evidence. That's going to be
never even proved whether it was human blood.
Oh my gosh. It's like so crazy. It's just,
sorry, I just yelled that one at people.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
I would love to, I want to jump. It's like I want to jump ahead and get to the evidence like next week, because it's so compelling when you look at it and you're like, you've got to be kidding me. Like this is like I said before, Clown World, it's like Clown World times 2. It's unreal.
How else am I supposed to be about all this? I would die if I.
And you're the crazy one, Megan. You're crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so crazy. And why don't we ask people in the chat? Hey, if you're still in the chat, okay, Gino McBray says, I believe Larry King's in the Epstein flight log.
Really?
I really want to verify that. That was a thrown out question, Gino.
Okay. I don't know. Yeah, I was going to say, I've been through that list many times. I do not remember Larry being on there, but that's interesting. I'd like to look into that for sure.
I was saying something that I wanted to make a point about, and then that popped up and got us off track. Sorry. Oh, jeez. I need to go to bed, I guess. Not really. I need sleep. I should say that. I woke up at 5:30, and
all of the conspiracies. It says all of the conspiracies are claiming there are actually coming true. I do not believe there are any. I'm not sure. Okay, all of the conspiracies, in quotes, they are claiming these are
conspiracies is a CIA term. The term conspiracy theory was created by the CIA.
It was.
This is again a distraction. You have to start understanding like magic, manipulation, wordplay, like warlock level stuff. You guys, like, you have to really literally start to understand warlock levels and manipulation and the magic that they put on
word curses,
literally.
like,
and then it will all make sense. Like, it won't even be difficult. Psyops everywhere. Oh, that's what I was talking about. I wanted to ask everyone in the chat, if you want to make us like, what do you want to hear from us? Because it's so much. We can just go in order. We've got our thing, but Gino, you brought it up. Why don't we ask people, like, let's take a little inventory real quick, because we've done our shows and
we have a whole bunch of people watching on Rumble, but no one's chatting except a few of them here. But yeah, if you guys look, okay, how about this? Let's make it easy. Do you guys want to see the actual evidence of Adam's murder? And that would be a 1. Would you like to continue? Number 2, what would be another good thing to look at, Megan, that might be out of order?
Well, we've got the whole scenario of the head, but that would kind of maybe go into evidence.
Mm-hmm. What about Otis Toole versus Dahmer versus, the suspect?
Lucas. We've got that to pick apart. We've got, now I'm again off the cuff and slate, but there's 20 aspects. We can make a Twitter post too if you want to go over there tomorrow and say what you want to choose. But again, I wasn't getting that involved. Just if you have something that you're dying to hear, or you're like, why aren't they getting to that? Why aren't they covering this? Put it up in the chat and bring it to our attention. Because again, it is all over the place. It's a lot of information. We're trying to, point out things because, we're not here giving you information. We're not here as a podcast to, just feed you information. We want to know what you think. We are all in this together. PSYOPs everywhere. Yeah. And people should understand what a PSYOP is, not just from the conspiracy theory mainstream bastardizing of it. It's actually a very intricate thing. I mean, what is happening to me now, what my parents are doing with the people behind them is psychological warfare, aside from domestic terrorism, but it is psychological warfare, hoping that I'll unalive myself, and then John Walsh can grab his chest, like I've said before, make a new mental illness mothers registry or something, and then target us all. But he's already doing that, so that's fine. So many, it's hard to break them apart and put them together. Am I missing anything in Rumble? I'm trying to catch up. Police on body cam with Gabby Patu said out loud they were on a 1099 at the moment, meaning there was an independent contractor, private. No, that's another big deal. People aren't understanding what private policing are, especially with everything wanting to be privatized now. You should not be for privatization of anything, especially CPS or law enforcement. And that's what the sheriff falls under as well. If it's a private sheriff's department, then they do side jobs, just like pulling me over all undercover in street clothes with my children out in the middle of nowhere to start this whole assault on April Fool's Day because they love their dates.
Yeah, they do.
And it's real. Don't
real.
mock it.
Oh,
Don't
birthdays. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. And if you understand all the beliefs that they do, like I was trained in, then you know why. The police trafficked her. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I've heard from people that knew her before and stuff that she was being trafficked, and that was I mean, again, I don't know. I'm just stating what I've been told. I don't have any proof of this, but that she was being trafficked, and the whole van kind of thing was to get away from all of it, and that Brian had been raised in the cult, and that's why his notebook drawings were so dark, and a lot of this stuff. Again, she was found, a lot of those bodies out in Moab were found by rising and falling water. A lot of the same similar, which is also something we see with the famous missing kids cases. There's a lot of similar aspects to them, right? On a bike from a mall, on a paper route.
So Megan, not to change gears, but I wish I would have remembered I had uploaded because I loaded some of this stuff a few days ago. I do have a couple things from Michael Monahan. So John Monahan's son back in '96 when they were questioning him. And it's a very extensive, thorough.
That's actually a very good show to do.
I have a couple.
I mean, cut you off. Go ahead.
Should I show the polygraph? This could take an hour to go through. Sorry, I'm being sarcastic.
Tease? Only, yeah. Okay, they only leave markers when there isn't a body.
Yes.
What does that mean? What do you mean?
Because the gravesite we were talking about earlier, and you said there's.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But it's weird because in the beginning of the pandemic, my mother emailed me this whole email with a sketch from Italy of a headstone that they were having made and it was going to be all carved out of marble, and there's a big like Isis looking cherub with wings on top, and it's for them and Adam.
I don't know.
I'm just living in it. Yeah. But
How-
I'm the crazy one to leave and want to take my kids and speak out about abuse. Page 4 has Meghan. What's that mean? Page 4 on what, Mike? Tell us, Mike.
Help us out, bro. I really want, if it was up to me, next week's show is the hard evidence, is the evidence that we have via the files. I think that would be that's a lot of shows, actually. That's not just one show, but
it's a lot of shows.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot there, but I think that's really gonna fascinate the viewers to see that what they didn't see on TV or hear in the news.
Yeah. Oh, Mike found it. We've been hunting all day. Can you
let me
click
pull
on
that up.
that?
Yeah.
Or you can copy
Yep.
it? So
Let's
page
see.
4 has
Let's see.
Meghan Walsh's mom being interrogated with hypnosis. There you go. We've been
Okay.
looking, you guys.
That's what-
I've read
yes.
through all these, and we're like, we can't remember what page, section, volume, year that was it.
There's so much. Okay,
There's
let
so
me get that, and it won't let me open the link, Mike. So I'm gonna have to copy it. Let's see if it works when I copy it.
Yeah, copy and try it. Mark
come
Smith
on.
report. Oh gosh, we didn't even get into and some of the shows. I do want to pull Willis Morgan's book, Frustrated Witness, because he did do a great job, even though I don't agree with his Dahmer narrative, which is very hard to not agree with because he swears on his life, and he was like in his 30s. He wasn't a kid. That he did have an interaction with Jeffrey Dahmer. But I even have theories on how Jeffrey Dahmer and Otis Toole and them could have been even involved. So
Right.
especially finders are behind stuff.
Right. I mean,
And
Dahmer was in town. I mean, around that time, wasn't he? I mean, he was.
literally was 20 minutes
That's.
from the mall.
So, hey, Mike, go ahead and either you know what, email that to me, bud. That'll be a lot easier because it's not letting me copy and paste it.
So everyone in the chat, now you have the link.
Well, it doesn't work, or at least it's not working for me. It just keeps saying error.
Oh,
So
like when you click on it.
yeah, and then I even tried to copy and paste, but if he if he sends it to if he sends it to my email, it'll work.
Access denied. Uh-oh.
There you go. Oh, what happened? Megan? Did her power go out? Or her Zoom? All right, hold on, everybody. I bet she ran out of power. Let's see. Hold on, everybody. Give me 2 minutes. We'll get this back on track. Can everybody hear me? What is going on? Let's see if this works. Megan, you there?
What the heck was that?
I don't know what happened.
Kicked out.
Did your battery run out or something?
No, I'm on my computer. I literally.
That was weird.
Kicked out.
I don't know. See,
Did I say something? What
this is where it's always like this deep statey thing. I don't know.
I hate that crap. There's
just-
no one watching.
I
No
don't-
one's cutting anyone off. This is conspiracy BS.
Yep.
I hate when people say that. I'm not buying into that.
Nope.
But I did just get kicked out. Okay, so did you get access
Okay.
granted?
So, okay, let me see if this is. Okay, Mike, is this the one in I'm not sure what's going on with it. Okay, wait, Mike. Okay, is this the one?
I think everyone should wear their pajamas next Saturday night.
No, just we'll have like a overnight party.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike, I think this is this it? Because I'm not seeing.
Sorry,
I don't want to put it up on the screen in case this isn't what he wanted me to do. Okay, I don't actually know what I'm looking at right here, so let me just make sure I got the right thing. Okay, here we go. Now, okay, it just came through. That was something else, Mike. All right, got it. Okay, good. Here we go.
He was sending me like songs the other night, and they were like
I didn't know what that was, but okay, here we go. Excellent. Fantastic. Mike's amazing.
Great job,
I don't know.
Mike. Oh, yeah.
Okay, page 4, tracing Adam's footsteps. Okay, so this is the hypnosis report, apparently. Let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see that better. Oops. Do it this way.
Oh, great job, Mike. Thank you.
There we go. Can you read that, Megan?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
At 6:30, August 18th, Reve Walsh met with detectives at the Hollywood Police Department to provide an in-depth interview regarding the activities of her and her son the day of his abduction. She stated she woke at 8 a.m., Adam woke at 8:30, John Walsh left for work at 9. Between 9 and 9:30, James Campbell arrived at the Walsh's residence and had breakfast with Reve and left at 10. I forgot to say something earlier that I did want to point out. In the affidavits that we read and repeatedly, it's also stated that my mother wanted James to take Adam that day, that he talks about the gym, or if I'm reminding people of the last show, and he talks about how he was trying to, basically show my mother that she couldn't rely on him, and he wasn't just, her babysitter, essentially, which is very much my mother. She treats everyone as some sort of service to her. Let's see. She then left with Adam at 11 and went to St. Mark's Lutheran School at 502 North 28th Avenue, which is weird. When we moved to Vero, we lived on 28th Avenue. All right, in Hollywood to pay for... Sorry, that's weird.
That is weird.
Yeah. Hollywood to pay for Adam's tuition. She said after parking the car, she took Adam into the church office, dropped off a check, and left for the Hollywood Mall. Again, Catholic school, by the way. Arriving at approximately 12:30 p.m. In a subsequent statement on September 10th, she stated she arrived at the church approximately 12:20 before continuing to the mall, where she arrived at 12:35. Earlier, recalling some of the events that followed while under hypnosis on July 31st, Reve Walsh said, and also, by the way, that my mother's birthday is July 24th, and Adam went missing on the 27th. So that's interesting. And they always have a 3-day gap. Reve Walsh said she parked her gray checker vehicle on the north side of Sears. They also kept the checker cab, and I grew up riding in it. So it's kind of weird. She personally, I'd get rid of the car. I wouldn't move to the town. Sorry, that's where I'm coming from. She and Adam entered the store. Adam stayed in the toy department, and she went to the lamp department. What's it gonna say? Yeah. Oh, lamp department.
What a guess.
Informing Adam she would return in 10 minutes. In the course of in 10 minutes. There's the 10 minutes. In the course of detectives' in-depth interview, Miss Walsh said she had left Adam in the toy department on previous occasions. He would never leave the store to look for her, and he was familiar with the store, having been there in excess of 100 times. Also in the hypnosis session on July 31st, Miss Walsh said after making an inquiry about the lamp with a Sears employee, she returned to the toy department approximately 10 minutes after she had left it and could not locate her son. She searched the entire department and adjacent departments before using a house phone to request Adam to be paged to return to the department store, which that's not the account in other areas. It says she went up to the people and asked them to call over the loudspeaker. And they did call over the loudspeaker, and then my dad goes out sometimes and says that they never did. Shortly after, Reve Walsh came across her mother-in-law, Jean Walsh, who was coincidentally shopping in Sears. Initially, Reve thought Adam might have been with her. However, after learning he was not, she called the Hollywood Police Department at 1:55 to report Adam missing. During the hypnosis session, Miss Walsh did not recall any suspicious people or activities surrounding her or her son, and said her husband and James Campbell were the only ones who knew she was going to Sears that day. August 28th, police met with Jackie Wing, 54, of Hollywood, who was employed as a secretary at St. Mark's. On July 27th, when Reve Walsh hand-delivered a $90 tuition check signed by John Walsh. In this meeting, more than a month after the abduction, detectives asked Miss Wing for her best recollection, and she, scroll, Gino. Thank you, sir. Recalled Miss Walsh delivering the check by herself at approximately 10 or 10:30 a.m. Joanne Braun, a Sears employee working on the day of Adam's disappearance, recalled seeing a gray checker parked near the north entrance of the store between 11 and noon. Mrs. Braun also recalled seeing Reve Walsh entering Sears catalog department entrance with a child, presumably Adam.
There it is. Presumably.
According to Angelique Ganis, 17, a part-time Sears lamp department employee, also working that day at approximately 12:10, Mrs. Walsh inquired about a lamp that was on sale. Ganis recalled relieving co-worker Betty Gutberlet at
noon, up at the top.
Waiting on Mrs. Walsh's 5 or 10 minutes later, and Mrs. Walsh returning to the lamp department looking for her son at approximately 12:25. Jenny Rayner, 24, was also working at Sears on July 27th. She was operating the telephone switchboard and the public address system over which Adam Walsh was paged several times. She said at approximately 12:25, she received a call from an in-house on which a woman requested her son, Adam, be paged to return to the department store. After instructing the woman to remain in the toy department, Miss Rayner issued 2 pages without response. Rayner said she paged Adam again at 12:40, received another call from the same woman requesting another page, and paged him again at 1. All without response. Sears employee Martha Grube said she relieved Rayner at 1:15 and continued to page Adam until 1:30. Both are so all these people saw a boy potentially. Well, they didn't, but like all these other people that came forward potentially saw a boy. But if he's being not there after 10 minutes, there's not people seeing him standing outside. There's not anyone coming forward saying, "Oh, we saw a little boy wandering around," or "Oh, we just walked in. We saw somebody standing outside by himself," which is the claim of how Otis picked him up. None of that. None of it. Both Arlene Salaba, 48, and Aurora Delgado, 41, were working at Sears the day of the abduction and were approached by Mrs. Walsh on separate occasions, asking if they had seen her son. Salaba said between 12 and 12:30, Miss Walsh approached her, showed her a photograph of Adam, and Salaba told Walsh she had not seen him. Delgado said it was the same time frame in which Mrs. Walsh described Adam to her. Delgado said she had not seen him and then handed the house phone to Walsh to request to have Adam paged. Upon being informed of some inconsistencies in stated times, Mrs. Walsh said she may have been inaccurate in her estimates because she was not wearing her watch that day. Again, James Campbell, too. On September 14th, Reve agreed to take a polygraph test, which she passed without signs of deception.
That's probably enough for now anyway. We can get into that later, but it's a long document. Thank you, Mike, for sending that over. We will definitely delve into the hypnosis. That was that performed by Matthews?
No.
Or one of his cronies?
Ordered by Matthews.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, that was for Danielle. Also, up in the Foxhole chat, who owns CPS? The Pilled Whisperer said, who owns CPS? It's a corporation, or isn't it? We actually discussed this a little bit earlier.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to read the other ones. I talk about it all day long. Go ahead, Gino.
You're better at it than I am. You can explain it better. I'm not going to articulate it as well as you can. Sorry.
It's a corporation. We're all working under corporations. That's like a whole thing to get into. I don't mean to be like ignore the question, but
I think of them.
It is a civil entity. Go ahead.
I think of them as a shell corporation, to be honest. Like I feel like there's taxpayer money coming in. There we go with the adjunct thing again.
Adjunct.
Yeah.
So yes, it's technically, says it's a government agency, but then you can also that gets into a debate too on what you believe, like, state of Florida, is that the corporation,
true.
Into that kind of stuff. So there's technicalities to it, but yes, when you're making money and everything and you're under a corporate, existence and
if you watch
that question. It's just,
if you watch, she does talk about it all the time. If you watch Rescue the Fosters with us on Thursday nights and sometimes Tuesdays, Danielle does a great job. Sylvia does a great job of the logistics of it all and how it operates, the inner workings of it. It is a little complicated.
That goes to say, I want to say something to our team, and we have an amazing team behind us, all together, but behind this effort. And, that's what we really want to do is everyone just in general always has their different areas of expertise and different things. And we want those people to come forward and we want those people to be heard. So again, thank you. That was a great segue actually for that question. And Gino, thanks for bringing it up, because every Thursday night on Insight, they do Gino and Sylvia, Danielle and KK, they do a wonderful show, Rescue the Fosters. And, Sylvia and Danielle are really the amazing people when it comes to explaining all that and breaking it down. That's one of their areas of expertise. Mine's corruption, so murder, kidnapping.
It's all of it, all the above.
Jeez, I didn't even like to watch scary movies. I was like, there's enough scary in the world. All right. It's a psyop to start NCMEC so children could be tracked and trafficked. Okay, so thank you, Danielle.
Mike had sent me over a couple documents about hypnosis too, and I'd love to get into them. They're kind of long, so we'll have to do that on another show. But it's a pseudoscience, like we talked earlier. Like hypnosis should have no involvement in any investigation into a crime, especially a murder.
Neither should psychics.
And how is psychics exactly? Why in the world? If you really think about this, whether you believe in it, don't believe in it, objectively look at it and say, wait a minute, that same person that's doing the little watch in front of your eye or whatever he's using to put you in this trance state, if there's not an objective source in the room, if it's just some guy with a chain and he's dangling, how do you know he's not programming you? How do you know he's not telling you what to remember? Like this is all magic. It's like you can watch. Look, I could say a trigger word, and maybe when I was 7, I was on a magician's stage, and I could still quack like a duck every time someone says the word 10 or something, right? And I quack like that's how stupid it is. And we see that. We watch. We've literally watched this on TV our whole lives, and yet they're going to use that for evidence.
Yep, and polygraphs too, and 4-question polygraphs. Don't forget, psychics, 4-question polygraphs, and this. It's a very foolproof approach, for sure. Very scientific.
There's that Gunderson sarcasm again. I love it. I love sarcasm. It just doesn't work on Twitter very well, though. You ever notice that?
It really doesn't, does it? I'm like, what? We're on Twitter. Like, obviously, people are gonna say something. Okay. So, anyways, we're gonna slap happy here.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, no one's really throwing any more questions out, but we've been on. Let's see. We've went 3 hours, 8 minutes, 3 hours and 9 minutes. Yeah. So
you guys, it's only gonna be an hour. What are you
1 hour.
Yeah. 2:30. Goodbye, everybody. No, I'm kidding.
No, we will be back next Saturday, 11 p.m. I think we're back next Saturday. Are you available, Megan? I think I am. Let's see, next Saturday. What is next Saturday's date? We're in December next week, right? Clubbing, yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine clubbing at my age. Oh my gosh. I don't even like.
I can't imagine clubbing at any age I went to.
I don't even like going to like Kroger shopping. Like I can't even imagine being in a club. Like someone was just asking me, they're like, "Oh yeah, you want to go to a concert?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Like you couldn't pay me enough money to go to a concert. I want nothing to do with any crowds." No thanks. And I'm not that grumpy old guy yet. Maybe I'm heading there. I don't know. But it's like, I just can't do it anymore. I just can't do it. People are rude too. Everywhere you go, they're just rude.
It's just rude.
Everything.
And so are people on X. So it's fine. The world is getting that way. So
So-
it's just part of. You just have to be okay with it.
So where's your views at right now on the tweet? Is it over 1 million in 24 hours?
I don't know.
It's got to be close.
I cannot believe it. This was so random.
It was. Let's tell the audience. Tell the audience what
Yes,
happened.
child trafficking every single day, and
Mm-hmm.
don't get. And I write something random today that's like literally just an account of something that happened, and we're almost at whatever. What did you say, Gino? I couldn't hear you.
Well, I was just going to say, it is ironic. Every day you're putting a great information out. Not just good information, like great information. And it's all sauce. It's all real. It's all legit. And then you post kind of a random thing about DeSantis and some gay dudes and whatever.
Oh, well, today we did go
Yeah.
from, I never look at this, but it's really weird. 34.6 thousand
Okay.
followers I was at this morning. We're now at 35.2.
Wow. In one day. Nice.
Yeah.
I think the views
Okay.
Mike was saying before we started the show was like 960,000 or something like that.
What is?
The views from, just people looking at it was
okay,
like,
hang on.
it was over
So
1 million.
Laura Loomer's retweet is at 106,000 views. And mine is at, and that was the retweet she did of my post. Post activity. We have hit one. Can you wait? Hang on.
Here, I'm going to pull it up. I might as well just let's pull it
It
up
won't do
here.
my phone. We hit 1 million. That's weird.
That's absolutely insane. Here we go. Here it is on the screen. Yep. So is she referring to DeSantis? Laura Loomer reposted Meghan's tweet, and Meghan's original tweet. Is it tweet anymore? I don't even know what we call it. A post, I guess. Whatever. So stupid. Well, I will say I was called
And
about
we're
8
talking
months
about
ago.
impressions. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. 8 months ago, asking if I knew of any interested buyer for a videotape of an alleged interracial homosexual sex tape starring the presidential candidate himself. I didn't say anything because in the world I come from, this isn't unusual. It's not my style, and I suggested they try Disney, LOL. I love that part. But since we see this now, it makes me wonder what else is or has gone on. Don't forget, Sturmont's sheriff pass card key and the nature of the investigation on him at the time of his suicide, just making observations. Let's see. I really wish everyone would just be normal, and when are these elections going to be over so we can move on with life reality? Shake my head, to be honest. And then that was, you were referring to this one, George from George. Breaking bombshell, evidence Ron DeSantis' campaign has been hiring prostitutes and using them at campaign events excuse me, to entertain donors and investors is about to be unleashed by Laura Loomer. So, you know what's funny, Megan? I remember when I first met you and Mike, I was a big DeSantis supporter, right? I was like, man, this guy's really on fire, and he's I feel so embarrassed now. It's like, I fell for it. I did. I fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. I was down in Florida just before I met you. I was actually in Florida. My aunt lived there, my great aunt. I was visiting her. She loved DeSantis, was raving about all the good things he was doing. She was like 93, 94. And I'm like, yeah, you guys are in a great state. I'll move down here, whatever. And then I meet you guys like 2 or 3 months later, and you're like, well, I hate to break the news. It's just like, you were so right that you guys are like so on the mark, you and Mike. I mean, it was just like, oh my gosh, he is a douchebag. Like, I didn't know.
Well, he was like literally coming to Vero promoting the first vaccination station for the elderly at our fairgrounds, like in the dirt. And I actually went there, not when he was there, but I actually did stand out front with several of our other my other mothers, and we held signs to try to, maybe warn people not to. It was literally like watching people drive into the concentration camp. And like, it was all the old people from the beach. So it was like all the rich, nasties, and they're like literally flicking us off and stuff. It was hilarious.
God.
I mean, it wasn't hilarious. It was very sad. But my point there was that there was DeSantis like promoting it. You know, kids were still having to wear masks. A lot of the stuff that was put out nationally as happening was not what was going on actually in Florida. And that's what made me start questioning. And then I was very hopeful, you know, when my children went missing, you know, that obviously who essentially owns your children once they're taken into custody, which is false imprisonment, by the way, and it is making them wards of the state.
Wards
so
of the
they're
state,
juvenile
absolutely.
wards. And then they're put in a system, and who technically owns the children when that happens is your governor. So I went directly to the governor. A lot of people across this country took time and called the governor's office and have been very gracious and simply asked for meetings with us. The media department called us. They acted, you know, grabbed their chest. Oh my gosh, no, we didn't know. Send this stuff right over so we can cover it, we can address it. And then ghost, we have recordings of that. We have documents of everything. So
I have emails.
I wish I could say different.
My favorite email was when I said they sent a generic thing back or something. He says, sorry, we don't respond to people not from Florida, like not civilians of Florida or something like that. And I'm like, so children don't matter? Like that it does.
Yeah,
like,
and
so
I'm
because I'm
running
from a
for
different state, that doesn't
don't
matter.
Contact me if you're out of Florida. I'm running for president,
so
but I
stupid.
can't. And you know what? If you can't address my main fundamental issue, I would say this about anyone: if you can't handle issues in your own state, how are you going to run a darn country? So, you know, there's just too much for me around DeSantis.
Okay, McBray said, did you guys see the exposure of a supposed sex offender offense on Tim Ballard, or is this a fake?
What? Look, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
The sex offender, the whole story with Tim Ballard, the recent allegations against him. She said, did you guys see the exposure of a supposed sex offender offense on Tim Ballard? There's not just one.
Yeah,
there's several. Yeah, there is a recent one that came out. And like I said, I'm going to refer you to Mike, the Hollywood Reporter, right here in the chat. Go to his Twitter. He's always got information that's amazing.
Yep. That's his gang.
And
if you
Mike,
want to know the breakdown or corporate status or any
absolutely.
of the inner workings of CPS, contact Rescue the Fosters on X, as well as D. Nicole here.
Yeah, you can
find it from Rescue the Fosters page. Sylvia Beachy and Danielle Holm.
In fact, you know, now that I think about it, Megan, since I met you and Mike, you've ruined a lot of things for me.
Sorry. Yeah.
You guys.
There's that.
There's so many times, Mike, I'll be talking to Mike on the phone and he's like, and I'm like, yeah, this one, he's like, oh yeah, you don't want to follow him. And I'm like, what? He's bad too? Like, come on.
Mike is cracking up right now because literally this is what I did to him. And then, so you're saying that to me and then I'm the one saying it to him on the phone. I'm like, Mike.
Stop. Just stop.
Everyone stop this. This is crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Crap, because you might be probably right.
Mike's right over, I'm going to say 95% of the time he's been right. I mean, like, and he might be right on the other 5%. I just don't know yet. It's like, it's ridiculous.
It's bad. Yeah. It's bad. I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate. Again, go back to that Cindy McCain, quote. We all knew about it. What were we going to do about it? And that's something that they all very much subscribe to. And a lot of people are subscribing to that across America regarding CPS and domestic child trafficking. So are we going to be a Cindy McCain and elite nasties, or are we actually going to be the people of America and start using our freedom of speech and, the money that we give these people to take our kids and to control us and actually do something about it?
Mike gave you an answer, and it's not a thread in Twitter. It says Ballard sucks. So that answers it for you.
That's all you all need
nice
to
and
know.
simple.
Yeah.
Nice and simple.
Yeah, love you, Mike. No, everyone seriously go over. Ballard does suck. It's really, it's sad. And also just, I guess from my background and stuff, and also I'm big into like watching body language and like demeanors and, stuff like that. And I mean, how Tim Ballard has gotten away with that kind of stuff is a wild thing.
I know.
I mean, the guy is a psychopath.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's the first time you've heard me say that. So there.
Mike, I should have did this a while back. Here you go, everybody. The Hollywood Reporter at Mike Wolfpack 100. Mike, you need a better tag than that. At Mike, you're cooler than that. Come on. It should be at the Hollywood Reporter, shouldn't
off
it?
Of there. We gotta get that wolf pack off
Yeah.
of there. No infiltrators. No, okay. Okay.
No, great account, great threads over there. You'll love it. Mike,
Yeah,
we
awesome.
started doing True Hollywood Stories. We did like 2 or 3 shows together, but then Mike got real busy and some other things were going on, and those were fun. I love doing that because we were starting to get ready to expose a lot of stuff going on in Hollywood. So if you don't know, Mike was a 25-year veteran in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Successful
Well,
shows and left a successful career.
Sorry, bud. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
But I was going to make a sarcastic comment that the show is called Reexamined. So, we can definitely make Mike come on and move into some of that content once we start getting this Adam stuff out of the way. Yeah, Mike's amazing. Everyone go follow Rescue the Fosters. Everyone go on Insight on Thursday nights. Watch Rescue the Fosters with these amazing people. You're blessed to have these people taking the time to give you the information. Tuesday nights, 9:00 on X Spaces is the Hollywood Reporter and myself. Talking about who is really trafficking our American children and families. Here is Rescue the Fosters. Thank you, Gino. Rescue children, keep families together. Look at beautiful KK and Sylvia.
So cute.
There's Sylvia. There's KK. Amazing stories, amazing work. Everyone get your butts over there and support them. Get involved. Donate if you can. All that good stuff. These are amazing efforts and real efforts being made. And we aren't flashy, guys, so.
And we're not clickbait. Let me put that out there. We're not looking to be, I got to be careful. We're not looking to be titled with any, got to be careful. I don't want to, we're just people trying to do good things and save families and get Meghan's children back where they should be. And that's our goal. Our objective is to save the American family from this evil empire that is stealing children out of loving parents' homes. It's not most of the abductions. Look, Meghan gave you stats earlier. If you just joined us, rewind, go back to the beginning. She was giving you some stats about what's actually going on. It's not what they're telling you. It's not all these abusive parents. They just hate their kids and they're beating them into submission and all. It's not that. I used to believe that. I had to get red pilled on that. I didn't know any of this stuff until about 2.5 years ago. So, but once you know and you see it, you need to be proactive. You need to do something. And it doesn't mean you have to have a podcast or a space or whatever. If you're good at that, great, do it. But you just need to be active in your community.
Don't do that. I love you, Gino, but now I'm
That's okay, go ahead. I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say. Yeah, that's what I was. That's where I was heading.
If you are interested in starting a chapter of Protect American Families within your county, we would be more than happy to talk to you about that and support you through it. We will again be launching the website at the end of December. We will have a lot of resources that are literal click action resources and that actions for you to actually do, ways to educate and actually start, approaching your community about this. What you can do if you have a skill or different things that you want, think would be of value to this, mission or to these issues, all that kind of stuff. We've got some fun campaigns coming up and things for the nation to participate in. So we're really excited about that. But if you would like to start or are interested in starting a chapter of Protect American Families in your local community or county, please reach out to any of us. Anyone else that you reach out to will let me know. And we will add you when we start getting, I'm going to do a little kind of blurb, not training, but kind of like a video series, if you will, for people that are interested in what they can start doing. And then we'll move from there with, chapter presidents and things like that. So If anyone's interested, please let us know. Again, Tuesday night spaces, Twitter. I'm going to be on Wednesdays I'll have to look on my X space for my Wednesday show. That's Wednesdays at noon. I don't have the information in front of me, like for links and stuff, but you can find me on that. Also, if you appreciate the work that we do here and want to, support us as an angel supporter now, obviously when Protect American Families comes out officially, we will have ways for people to donate regularly or donate with tax deduction and different things like that. Right now, we are raising funds for those initial costs. We had amazing people, 2 weeks ago, raise the funds for the paperwork to establish the nonprofit. And we are doing this every step of the way with the people. We can't do this without your support. We're not going to federal funding. We're not doing that. We want support of the people. So before that comes out, if you would like to support us and the work that we do, as well as the fight that I'm in, because I have to fight every day in this, please feel free to go to PayPal at family. We need to change that at the bottom, Gino. I don't think that it's working. Family Farm and Faith, spelled out AND. So Family Farm and Faith at gmail.com. Also, Cash App is, the $, Walsh Consulting. And so we will be obviously switching all that over, but now we do need the initial donations to keep, developing this and to establish it for everybody and to keep me able to do that. So,
right. And we need Meghan's voice. Meghan's case is so critical. That's why we're going over the whole Adam thing right now. I mean, this is the thing that busts the whole thing. This cripples the pyramid. It topples the pyramid. And it's so important, and no one will touch it with a 10-foot pole. We've tried media. We've tried politicians. We've tried every avenue that, it's a grassroots thing, unfortunately. No one else will pick this stuff up.
God has planned, though, Gino.
And we know God's going to do something fantastic. I know that. I've been preaching that from the beginning. I know this is a spiritual thing first.
But I'm not going to be generic about that. I want to be a little, I'm going to interrupt you for a second because it went off in a little thing. I want to say that, this is not, God is doing, why I brought up God, and if you don't believe any, whatever, it's fine.
Right, we're not
but like, what was that?
I said, we're not telling them what to believe.
Oh, no,
this
is
our
whatever.
opinions. Yeah.
But we are Christians, and people love God if you aren't even. So, but I really think that the point in the universe, God, whatever vernacular you want to use or what you subscribe to, I think that the big point here is that it is going to come down to the people. This isn't going to end until the people do something about it. And the bigger picture of that is because this is something that people should be getting riled up under God about. Like, no one should be okay with this. And what we're all learning is, and the big lesson out of this is our power, of getting our power back, of getting our grace and our truth and our power back, and understanding what that means. And how do we work together to do that as a society and not have to hand our power over to, our neighbors that are the same as you and I because they wear a different outfit or had different training, or went into a different career. You couldn't pay me to be a judge. So anyway.
No.
And what kind of people are the people that choose different positions in this world? Let's just, it's a little deeper. So
now, but I want to reiterate what I was saying about you, Meghan. Like Mike and I have talked about this a million times, that Meghan's case blows the whole thing open. I didn't understand. When I first got involved with this, I knew none of this. I didn't know anything about Meghan. I didn't even know Meghan existed. I didn't know John Walsh had a daughter. And I was a John Walsh fan. Grew up watching John Walsh my whole life. I remember when his show debuted, me and my friends had cases of beer, and we would every Sunday we would get them at my buddy Chris's house, and we would sit there, 20 of us, and let's get the bad guys, and we just loved it, ate it up. So when I found this out, I'm like, what? Wait, are you kidding me? I fell for this the whole time. But, that's what this is about, exposure. I believe we're in this great time of exposure. Like, I think a lot of things are coming to light. And I think children are the crux of what's going to bring the whole Babylonian system down. I call it the Babylonian system. So this whole temple that they've built is coming down. And it's built on the backs of children, which is the disgusting, sick part of this. And this is the part this ticks me off, but the Patriot movement, and I was part of it, they talked about children. We're gonna rescue children. We're going in for children. We're gonna do all this stuff for children. That's all we heard for 4 years. And I haven't seen that. I mean, there's a few. Of course, there's a few patriots out there doing good work and doing some, not enough, and especially men. If there's not enough men in this movement, I can tell you that. Men should be. I thought men were providers and protectors. I don't know where we're at. I mean, come on, guys.
So
we need you.
So mortified. We really do. And I love men, and I know that sounds weird, but I appreciate that, and we need good men. That was another thing that I'm mad about, and I haven't had time to look into it, so I'm speaking very off the cuff. Maybe people can be mad, but another thing to look at is the rise of this fathers' rights movement and what the intentions are behind it. And it's not saying that the fathers involved in it aren't well intended, because most of them are, and they have valid reasons, and child support goes into Title IV and what we all talk about, and how this is operating. So it's not to negate any of that. But what's happening is that when you look at the timing and the approach and who's involved and how it's panning out, it's literally just creating, we've got division with race, we've got political division, we've got everything. So how can we divide and create division between mothers and fathers? And that just makes our children more susceptible. So part of the Better Ways campaign and Protect American Families, and we will be working on projects for that by bringing in real expert, real people that have experience, have firsthand knowledge as well as education in this, but to really give some kind of help and support within co-parenting, and what that looks like in a healthy situation, and just
and lobbying for better #BetterWays.
Yes. Yeah. We need to, if people can start using #BetterWays when we're talking about CPS stuff, that would really be a big deal. It covers a lot of aspects of it, and it really gets to the point. There are simply better ways for us to be handling these situations. And when they're actually real, we're up into the 70s and 80% of removals of children being unfounded at this point. And that's nothing but trauma to especially the children and the families. So there's better ways. You're muted. Just like on November 28th, go to Women Against Registry on X, go register for their event. Please look at their information. It is a little hard, when you've been programmed a certain way, or, you hate, people that touch children like I do and stuff. It is, you have to take a second, and then you have to say, no, I really want to see what this is about, because their intention is to truly, get rid of things that are hurting people, and to really bring forward ways to actually address the issues.
It's just hard numbers. When you throw the numbers out, I mean, it's easy to gloss over numbers because we see numbers all the time, right? I mean, there's fake stats all over the place. These are hard, real numbers. I mean, you can check them out. And these numbers are failure, utter failure. 70 to 80% is not a B plus. We're talking like complete failure, an F.
And they are
like Gunderson said,
failing businesses that are trading and profiting off of our children.
So you have to say it was designed. Yeah. And Sylvia says it all the time, and Danielle does too. And I know you've said it too, that it's designed this way. It was built this way. That's what Gunderson was talking about. It was never meant to rescue children and save families and reunification. None of that. It was about making a whole bunch of money, billions and billions of dollars, funding almost pretty much all 50 states. And that's why none of the governors will touch it. I don't care if they have an R or a D after the name. It doesn't matter.
It's a huge
funding
grip.
Their budgets. It is.
We did it. And,
sick.
Here we are.
Sick stuff.
I think I would like to know how the Dahmer thing, how does he come into this in scientific evidence that they so-called have? They have, for Dahmer, they have no scientific evidence. For the whole thing, they don't have any scientific evidence. And how the Dahmer thing, well, we kind of touched on it. You can look at Justice, Frustrated Witness is the book. JusticeForAdam.com is Willis Morgan is the gentleman. He has done amazing work. He risked a lot to get and fought for with Greeland. Greenland's another one to look. Broward Bulldog or Brevard, is it Broward Bulldog? Broward Bulldog is Miami. Greeland, but Willis Morgan was the one who says that he, spoke with and had an encounter with Jeffrey Dahmer that day in the mall. And of course, we know through the documents and stuff that Jeffrey Dahmer did live and work nearby to the mall. And my father had written a letter to the sheriff asking him to look further into Dahmer. Dahmer's father said he thought he did it. But there's a lot behind that. Again, no one is looking into Dahmer's past. Like, you guys, everything that affects you later in life the trauma happened between the age of 0 and 7, like the things that come up later. And so we have to be looking at family upbringings, and not to take kids, but to understand things, right? And Dahmer's father is not this saint that he, puts himself out to be. That's for the book. That's for money. That's for the attention. That's because they're paid opposition. So, and I'm not saying that, again, Willis or, the whole
Nothing
thing,
against Willis, yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying not saying he's paid opposition at all.
Right.
I don't know. We haven't gotten into that, but Dahmer's father, is what I'm talking about.
Right.
And he was the one, if you look into it, that was teaching Dahmer how to go out and taxidermy small animals and do these things that seem innocent, maybe even good, but then can instill, what we see how it pan out. Also, that Dahmer was actually he was in the military before this happened, and he was stationed in Germany. And his roommate there has come out. He has scars on him, and he has horrible, worse than PTSD and everything, talking about what he endured with Dahmer as his roommate in the military. Then Dahmer's released from the military. He's given a very project paper clip scenario, or pick where you want to go. I think he picks Milwaukee or wherever he's from and returns some of his stuff, and then he goes down to South Florida, and he's down there working at a sub shop. In the vicinity of the mall. He was known to not go to work on Mondays because of his drinking problem, and this is what they say. And so, that's how they bring him in. And then with Willis saying that, I saw him there. And then, of course, again, last year we've got the Dahmer movie come out. Then we've got the FBI guy saying stuff about Dahmer and killing Adam. Again, FBI.
And I do want to say, Megan, Willis Morgan he's made a great contribution to this. I mean, this right here, I mean, he's literally compiled just an unfathomable amount of information over the years, and a relentless pursuit of the truth. And, we disagree with the Dahmer thing, but who cares? That's what this show's about anyway. We're just trying to get our points of views out.
He and I, when we talk, that's what we talk about. I'm like,
Sure.
Willis, he wanted me to check out. And actually everyone can go find, he did do a new, either an updated version, extended version, or he put out another volume, I can't remember, of Frustrated Witness, which you can find, there you go, on his site. So he added things and has re-released it. If you happen to buy it or read it, please also leave a review. That would really help him out a lot. A complete story of the Adam Walsh case and police misconduct. So that's another thing I want to go into in a show, and I want to take it from his work, because he really did incredible work describing, especially the Miami Homicide Department, what the atmosphere was,
and just going after getting the records. I mean, going after the records and trying to get these things released to the public. I mean, that's no easy task.
Oh, I remember when that was going on as a teen. I was in high school, and we were doing, fundraisers at the Breakers Hotel. That's another thing we'll get. I mean, look up NCMEC galas and fundraisers. Holy. Okay. Anyways, the silent auctions they used to do. But I remember, I was always like that. My parents were making a big thing about, oh my God, they want the records released, and, we can't have that happen, and all of this. And of course, me being my parents' child, I of course looked, I guess I should have known back then, dang it, Gino. I looked up the judge's phone number. Tried
Oh
to
my
call
God. Oh my
from
God.
the Breakers Hotel at the fundraiser, from the payphones at the Breakers in the lobby. Check me, they're there.
Oh my gosh. Those fundraisers, that must have been something. I can't even. Oh man, I need to hear about that at some point.
Well, we're going on and on. It'll be like till the morning, but you know, that was another thing. Is why the heck was I at all these like adult events as a child? You know, if your child just got taken, especially if you're trying to cover your drug use and the reality of your lifestyle, and a love triangle and everything else, then you know, having another baby and you know, holding the baby up in front of everybody and what's the public gonna do? They're gonna go, oh my gosh, there's like, God bless them, they had another child. Da, 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 da. And
Yeah, Tanya, I agree with you. If you guys are watching over there in Rumble, and the numbers have been pretty steady. If you guys are over there and you're enjoying the content, please, if you could hit that thumbs up. That helps a lot with the algorithms. The views are important here on Rumble because that gets you in the algorithm. So if it's, I mean, it's the same on every platform, but especially on Rumble and YouTube. I'm not on YouTube. I did just start, Megan, I did put our first show on there. I didn't promote it, nothing. Like, it's just, I haven't even looked at it.
Are we still up?
There might be like 5 views. I have no idea, but I just wanted to like start kind of barely feeding the machine over there again and see what happens.
Yeah.
But
Well, send me the link. I'll post it too.
Okay.
And that leads me, I don't mean to cut you off on that, but I want to, before we get on something else, you know, everyone that's watching, if you, again, appreciate what we do, of course, prayers are invaluable, and donations, but please share the information. Like, take this link and share it on your page, or send it to your friend in the community that you know, is open to this, but maybe doesn't know everything, or, same thing with Rescue the Fosters.
Actually, that's funny you bring that up, because just at Thanksgiving, my aunt, we have a great relationship, but politically we would probably differ quite a bit. But she was, I don't know how it came up, but she was asking about, like, I think it was high food prices or something. And we just started talking, and I was like red pilling her on about 10 different things. And she was like actually listening. I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's no argument. I tried to avoid politics at all, but it just, I couldn't believe she was asking. She's like, well, where can I get information? I'm like, oh, I can help you with that. So there is hope in our families, folks. And this is the crux of it. Again, children are the crux, the family. Like, we need to stress this, that it's in everything. They've infiltrated everything to destroy the American family and destroy the family in general. But we talk mostly about here. And that's what we have to wake up to, that. If you're not awake, oh my gosh, I almost said if you're not woke to that.
Don't say it! Don't say it!
Sorry. If you're not awake.
Gino. No.
Oh my gosh. If you're not awake to this, like, you need to be, and because it's important. And even if you, like Megan said, if you're just sharing the information, that does a lot. That might red pill one person, that could change someone's mind overnight, and maybe they do something. That's what we're hoping for.
Imagine I never got red pilled. Imagine.
Oh my gosh.
Person can make a big difference. So, imagine if Gino didn't. Imagine if any of the people that you follow, I'm just using myself, but imagine if those people didn't come forward or didn't, spread the word to at least one other. So please, share it out. It really helps us. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm going to bed, Gino.
Yeah, me too. I'm burned out.
I'm
You had a long day.
I had a very long day, but I want to say something before we go, because I want to give glory to that. If it wasn't for my team behind me, and it wasn't for the Lord first and foremost, I wouldn't have been able to achieve what I did today. And that was get my first car on my own. Isn't that crazy?
Amazing.
We're all going to start learning a lot about how people like me are raised and how that affects us.
Well, Megan, it's important that people know, okay, maybe someone's in the audience, wait, her first car. Yeah, well, if you know what they've done to her financially and torn her apart, literally everything she had, they took. And this is what they do. They put you under so much stress and duress and bankrupt you so that you can't move forward. But I'll tell you what, Megan is the strongest person I've ever met, man or woman. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I know a lot of people in my personal life that are strong people, courageous people. I've never met someone like her. And what she's had to endure as a mother, as a daughter of a very famous couple, and all that goes with that, and all the things she had to endure as a child. It's an amazing story, and that's going to be a great movie and book one day, Megan, because your story needs to be told, because what you've had to endure is incredible. And I know she hates hearing this. She does not like when I do this, but I'm telling you, I have to, because people need to know she's not crazy. She's not on drugs. She's not an alcoholic. She didn't beat her children. She's none of those things.
I'm goofy.
She's a little goofy, but I love the goofy. The goofy's fun. Yeah.
Well, you know, when you've been through, I think a lot of people also maybe misread, and I'll say that out loud. I don't think we meant to get on this, but you know, when we have to laugh about stuff or we have to say something sarcastic, I mean, this is really serious stuff for me. And, you know, I think that a lot of people negate and get in that like conspiracy, or we're going to have our gossip, you know, whatever. And, you know, again, these are real lives. And, you know, it might be funny to some people, but it really is real. And we're not being crazy about stuff. There are people more than myself going through this and literally being hunted every day. We cannot get work. We cannot get cars. We cannot get housing. And that's because of registries also. So everyone that goes on CPS is put on the child abuse registry. Everyone, the sex offender registry, this registry, that registry. My father was promoting a mental health registry for gun owners. Okay. So he seems to be the registry king, and, you know, obviously other people are doing it too. But again, that goes back to Hank Asher, data, monetizing. I digress after that. Join us on Tuesdays on X Spaces with Mike, and we talk a lot about that. It's getting late, so I don't want to go on another tangent, but.
Well, all right. Thank you guys so much for watching tonight over there on Rumble, Foxhole, and I didn't even check Twitter tonight. I'm sorry. Hopefully there were some people on Twitter too. We appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for dropping by. Reexamined with Meghan Walsh every Saturday night, 11 p.m. You can also follow Meghan at Meghan Walsh _ on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. What's your TikTok again, Meghan? I always forget.
I don't have a TikTok. I'm banned.
Wait, I thought you made the second account. That one got banned too?
I made a second account. One day I got informed, like I went to go on TikTok and it said my account is temporarily suspended.
Oh my God.
I didn't even post a video, and it's been like 3 or 4 months.
Really?
So, yeah, it was after we exposed those accounts that were selling babies online through
that would do it.
private adoption and the other platforms. So, but I exposed the accounts on TikTok. And so they completely took me down during a live while I was doing dishes. So that's how that goes.
See, she's just a real person doing dishes.
I was giving the dish, doing dishes, man. Come on. They took me down.
Yes. If you feel so inclined and you want to donate to Meghan's cause, Cash App, $MWalshconsulting. Also, the PayPal, go ahead and give the other PayPal. The one on the screen is Meghan Walsh Consulting, but let's go to the Family, Faith, and Farm on PayPal.
My guys will get this right one day. No,
did I screw it up?
Yeah, you said it backwards.
What did I say?
I
said family.
Okay, let's not confuse everyone. And thank you. Honestly, everyone, every dollar, like, literally makes a difference. If you think, oh, I can't donate this big bunch of work, that's not what we're talking about here. Again, this is grassroots. It's more about the camaraderie, about supporting and getting in the, and like just getting in the vibe of, okay, we're all used to donating to big organizations. We're all used to doing these different things when, we need to be looking at other ways to support and getting in that practice, I guess. So we appreciate every donation that happens, every prayer, every sharing of the information. We are truly, truly blessed and honored and grateful for all of you. I want that to be known. What was it? Oh, the handles or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, for PayPal.
PayPal is Family Farm, and A&D spelled out, Faith, familyfarmandfaith@gmail.com. If Cash App's easier, you prefer that, it's down at the bottom, $sign M Walsh Consulting. And again, in the new year, we will have most of that will just be Protect American Families.
Excellent. That'll be much easier. And again, please, on your way out, if you can click on that thumb, that would be great. The one going up, not the other one. I should have made that more clear. We would definitely appreciate that.
Not just any thumb.
Not just any thumb, just the one going up. We love you all. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend. If you want to join me tomorrow, The Blender, right here on Insight Channel, 9 o'clock. It's a fun show. It's mostly Christian-based, but we kind of expose fake Christians. It's fun. But tomorrow, a special guest host is coming on. Danielle will be hosting with me because my co-host Mike in Texas couldn't make it tomorrow because of the holiday weekend. But I said, you know what, Danielle loves the show. I said, Danielle, you want to just like host with me? It'll be fun. So we're going to do I'm going to do dad jokes. She's going to do mom jokes. So that should be fun. So we're going to do that tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. So, all right, guys, love you so much. Have a great night. God bless. Megan, awesome show. Great information tonight. Love you, sis.
Thank you for you, as always, and God bless everyone. We thank you very, very much. And we'll see you next Saturday. And interact with us before then. So have a good one, y'all. God bless.
Have a blessed night.